What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 3JJK Chapter 71 Advertisement. The major families looked at their elites distressedly, and they could feel that although the mountain of people behind Ryuichi was extremely miserable, almost all of them remained half-side. But this group of so-called elites has been destroyed in half. The injured body can be healed, and even the broken arm can be remedied. However, Ryuichi's figure, like the demon god of Shura, is indeed deeply imprinted in his heart. Like a nightmare, they will surround them all their lives. Even after many years, this generation of jujutsu teachers has grown into a giant tree that can stand alone. They still can't forget the man who just stood in place and turned the world over and the sun and the moon fell. Don't go. The old man from Kamo's family firmly caught the young man beside him who wanted to jump off the platform. A flash of unwillingness flashed across the young man's eyes, a bit of red blood appeared on his delicate little face, and the roots of his teeth clenched unconsciously. Behind the old man, looking at the arena, the two silhouettes, their eyes flowed. The old man noticed the look of the young man, and sighed slightly in his heart. That kind of monster is not something his younger generation can match. If he enters the field rashly, it is very likely to be killed directly. It's not as good as standing on the sidelines. Ha 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 ha. Kamo's family didn't have to compete. In the high platform of Gojo's family, a taunting voice slowly sounded. Kamo's elder's face instantly darkened, and his tone was solemn. Said, "This competition is not a royal competition at all. It's a great event, and it's a mess. My Kamo family is very expensive, and I disdain it as usual." Hearing this, Zenin's parents laughed, did not speak, but the contempt in his eyes almost made no secret of it. Huh, old stuff, what you're proud of, it's just like what your Zenin family has achieved. Zanguo. The Zenin's old man pointed at himself in surprise, and then looked at the black-faced old man with a mocking look. Zenin Ryuichi, why has nothing to do with my Zenin family? Haha, I really will put gold on my face. Are you guys out there? That is playing on behalf of the academy. Does it have anything to do with you? The identity of Zenin Ryuichi is not clear to others, but the Kamo family of big three sorcerer families knows it well, and they also know that the Zenin family is a famous rogue family. You can say that. To outsiders, Zenin's family is naturally arrogant, and superior in strength. Jujutsu is king. People without Jujutsu can't even be regarded as people in Zenin's family. Even the top powerhouses like Zenin Shire were kicked out of the house because they didn't have Jujutsu. But, from a certain perspective, Zenin's family is extremely rascal. This point came out in Zenin Ryuichi's body. Regardless of Ryuichi's attitude towards Zenin's family, it doesn't matter whether he ignores it or hates it. As long as you are the blood of our Zenin family, as long as you are powerful and talented, it doesn't matter if you don't admit that you are a member of the Zenin family. Advertisement. They are bound to do everything to protect you. It's like Kagezen's second-level Jujutsu master is the mainstay in that family, but after being killed by Ryuichi, there is no one like Ryuichi who is in trouble. Because in their hearts, with Jujutsu and the unparalleled talent of Ryuichi, even 10,000 Kage-san can't compare with the other's hair. Dare to kill Zenin's family and die. This is the Zenin family, arrogant and rascal, pedantic and short-sighted. Even if Ryuichi is dismissive of them, even if they are angry with Ryuichi in their hearts. But they will never attack their own blood, and they will not allow anyone to dare to use force to coerce Ryuichi. This is why Zenin's parents and husband sing against Kamo's family. Between the two old men, they did not put those injured families in their mouths. It seems that those families are far less important than any victory or defeat of the two families, even if it is just a battle of words. This is the big three sorcerer families, ignoring everything, being aloof, only seeing everything in the family. On the side, among the high platforms of Jujutsu Academy, Yaga Masamichi looked at the hellish scene below with a serious face. He thought that these people were the foils for Gojo and Ryuichi, but he really didn't expect that these two guys, actually messing up so much, directly broke all the rules. Destroy everyone. At the moment the battlefield is the only two of them to dominate. Wow, it looks like Mr. Masamichi has found an amazing guy. A hot body, wearing a black slim-fitting dress and a delicate face, looked at the scene underneath with excitement on her face, with her braids tied in front of her weirdly, shaking constantly because of excitement. Seeking flowers. Mei, do you know why you didn't let you participate in the war? You know the strength of Wu, but Ryuichi has even stronger power. Hearing this, Mei's face was strangely flushed, and Heinz's tone was a little bit coquettish. That's really great, I really want to play with him, see? Haha, Satoru reminded me not to provoke Ryuichi, I think I should remind you too. Smiling Sha Yuja walked to Mei's side and put her hand on the glass. Squinted eyes, staring at Ryuichi's. His eyes opened suddenly, and there seemed to be countless haze in his narrow eyes. How can he have the breath of cursed spirit on his body? The corner of the room. Advertisement. Ieri Shoko did not participate in the communication. Instead, he put his hands together and prayed silently for Ryuichi in his heart. Her current state of mind is very tangled. On the one hand, he is his savior, and he is also the Prince Charming who often appears in his dreams. On the other side is his partner, a comrade in arms who lives in love. She couldn't understand why two people in such a good relationship had to fight in this situation. But this is the man. Also strong, on the battlefield, the breeze came slowly, and the smell of blood continued to float in the ocean. Ryuichi's body flashed. Shenjishin changed a new set of clothes on his body. Dressed in white, black hair and silver eyes. Ryuichi smiled and looked at the only friend in front of him on the battlefield. Finally it's quiet. Gojo Satoru also showed a smile and grabbed his sunglasses. Patter. Throwing it far away, the blue eyes of the sky reflected Ryuichi's figure. Under his feet, the ground began to vibrate slightly. Kaka kaka, it seems that some terrifying force is awakening little by little. Yeah, it's finally quiet. Do you remember the first time we met? The three big families, the inactive generations, surrounded me. I just think they're very noisy. And you were silent in the crowd, but the moment I see you, my heart tells me. Appeared. Ryuichi. Let me see what my vision is, too. Chapter 72. Advertisement. At this moment, Gojo Satoru changed his former frivolous appearance, and his whole body exuded a terrifying warfare that no one had ever seen before. The pair of heavenly pupils stared at Ryuichi in front of him, his whole body tensed slightly. Around him, bursts of powerful thrust continued to erupt. Bang bang bang. As if cleaning up the field, all the children of the aristocratic family who had been defeated by Gojo Satoru behind him were pushed out of the battlefield. The tyrannical power made the children of the aristocratic family fly all over the sky, and it was so lively, which caused the group of aristocratic families who were guarding the periphery to suffer. You always say that we are the strongest, but shouldn't the term, strongest, be the only one? Facing the arrogant Gojo Satoru, Ryuichi gently twisted his wrist, the magical machine on his chest. The sky, without wind, dressed in white, was blown by the wind and rustled. The moon-white eyes were rarely serious, and the muscles of the whole body were tight. 383. Gojo, try, defeat me, Pung. The voice just fell. Ryuichi took the lead in the attack, slamming his feet like a white lightning, rushing towards Gojo Satoru. And the land under the feet that had been blessed by the special jujutsu, was trampled by that power and shattered like a spiderweb, intertwined with roots. Base. In an instant, Ryuichi appeared in front of Gojo Satoru. The curse of the whole body was condensed, and the terrifying force wrapped his fist and blasted Gojo Satoru's head brazenly. Faced with such a blow, Gojo looked as usual, like an ancient well, without fluctuations. The eyes condensed slightly. An invisible force condenses instantly in front of Gojo. The strongest jujutsu, no lower limit technique, launch. Jung, Titikaka. Boom. Ryuichi's punch carried a terrifying power like a world-destroying thunder. Almost instantly, the surrounding air was violently evacuated, and the space involuntarily stagnated slightly, like a god's punishment coming to the world. But, Pung. That terrifying punch was completely resisted by some invisible force in front of Gojo Satoru, less than half an inch away. The power is like an endless abyss, swallowing all the power of Ryuichi's ultimate destruction. The blow that was enough to make the rock collapse instantly disappeared. Your jujutsu, really troublesome. Ryuichi turned smoothly and backed away quickly, his body instinctively aware of a hint of danger. I saw Gojo Satoru, his hands quickly sealed, advertisement. His eyes are like electricity, and the corners of his mouth are squeezed. Kang. Rumble. In an instant, everything around Ryuichi seemed to be propelled by some kind of force, whether it was space or dust, all in a moment, produced a huge attraction. That power kept pushing everything, as if to squeeze Ryuichi's body. The person locked by Xiao Wu's trick will definitely not be able to continue fighting. The elder of Gojo's family sounded a bit proud. It can transform the distance of all objects into a negative infinity, which is one of the signature skills of the unlimited technique. Although this technique has been lost for thousands of years, it was born with the birth of Gojo Satoru. This terrifying force, once called the natural disaster, by the world once again dominates the world. Create a strong absorption response. The principle is similar to turning the distance between multiple objects into negative infinity, thus bursting out almost insoluble power, and even presenting an infinite explosion. Back then, the Gojo Patriarch used one move to wipe out nearly thousands of cursed spirits. Gojo, don't be too happy. The elders of the Zenin family naturally didn't expect the old opponent to be so proud. The elders of the Gojo family ignored each other at all. Anyway, everything will soon be resolved. Gojo Satoru will prove. What is invincible? On the battlefield, Ryuichi is solidified by endless attraction. The corners of his mouth were slightly upward, and there was an amazing look in his eyes. Don't underestimate people, Gojo. There was a sudden explosion in his body except for stronger strength. An inexplicable breath suddenly appeared in the abdomen. In a moment, bursts of tyrannical curse power emerged in an instant. The curse power quickly did not enter Ryuichi's body. The so-called 6 Immortal Thief Treasury is not just as simple as absorbing the magic power to moisturize the body. The 5 internal organs of the human body, the name of the 6 Treasury, is the name of the 6 Fu organs. It can take everything from heaven and earth, transform it into pure power in itself, and transform the body from the ordinary into the immortal in a subtle way. Immortal thief, steal the world, steal the universe. In the 6 Fu organs, there is endless power hidden. Every time Ryuichi draws in, 30% of the power will nourish himself, and the remaining 70% are all hidden in his 6 treasury. You can reverse everything at a critical moment. It can be described as fairy thief. Next moment, advertisement bang. Ryuichi slammed his hands up and made a tearing motion. Rumble. Rumble. Accompanied by a strong explosion, that seemingly infinite attraction, instantly annihilated. Gojo Satoru looked at the explosion with a bit of astonishment, and the energetic Ryuichi suddenly appeared a bit of excitement in his eyes. Sure enough. I didn't see the wrong person as expected. Ryuichi. I've been lonely for too long. The dragon wandered among the ants. Although invincible, it was still lonely as snow. Although the top of the mountain is high, it is cold wind and Linlin, the wind is cold. From birth, Gojo Satoru knew that he was strong. When he was 5 years old, he accidentally released a jujutsu, and instantly tore a living maid in front of him. Although the Gojo family is proud of Gojo Satoru's strength and talent. But, at that moment, Gojo Satoru understood that he and this group of people will never be in the same world. Just like the giant dragon and the ant, the giant dragon moves its body. In the depths of his heart that he didn't even notice, an invisible shackle restrained him. The strongest, the 16-year-old, the strongest, these 2 words are both glory and shackles. Even with Sha Yuja's equally talented partner, Gojo Satoru still knows that we are the strongest. As long as he thinks about it, Sha Yuja will be far behind him. Lonely, lonely, utterly cold, become the main theme of Gojo Satoru's life. However, all of this boringness is completely over when facing the eyes of this man who tore his own blue in one fell swoop. He was finally convinced that many years ago, the same kind that he saw deep in the mud had completely unfolded his wings, soaring above the 9 heavens, and he finally found an opponent worthy of his all-out fight. Ryuichi. Let's see who is the strongest. Gojo Satoru leaned back with both hands. The attraction of his left hand quickly condensed, and the repulsion of his right hand continued to compress. Bang. It looked like an evil dragon, blatantly killing Ryuichi. Gojo Satoru, black clothes and white hair, the gods came to the world. Then come. Try it. Ryuichi smiled at the corner of his mouth, black in white clothes and black hair, as if the demons were resurrected, and behind him was like a dance of demons, thousands of cursed tools, covering the sky. Chapter 73. Advertisement. At the same time, everyone's attention was drawn by the battle between Zenin Ryuichi, who was born out of nowhere, and Gojo, the strongest young generation. A tall man in black walked slowly towards the door of Tokyo Academy. On his shoulder, a small crow was combing his feathers, black wings, as if with innumerable haze. Interestingly, such an ingenious enchantment will actually appear in the hands of humans. It's a pity, this thing is far from it. The man in black shook his head slightly, revealing the eyes under the black robe. It was a pair of pure black pupils without white eyes. In it, it seems that there are countless nightmares and haze, and it seems that countless dreams are swinging. Those eyes made people shudder, and they felt extremely pure. It was as pure as a baby, and as mottled as a sinner. Quack quack. Quack quack. The crow on the shoulder suddenly screamed. With the sound of this cry, a thick black mist spread out from the body of the man in black, taking him as the weight, and spreading to the surrounding very quickly. Whoosh, the black mist was almost in the blink of an eye, talking about the entire college package, but it was originally as dark as ink, and then disappeared in the air. It's as if nothing happened. Gia, you are really slow, it took so long to start. The cold man's voice rang abruptly. Behind the man in black, a big hand appeared out of thin air. With a slight force on the palm, a figure shot out from the ground in an instant. On the ground, the black mist once again disappeared. The man who sprang from the ground was skinny, like a walking human skeleton. Her cheekbones are protruding, her eyes are cold, and her bean-sized eyeballs seem to carry a lingering ghost fire. Wearing something that looked like a mourning cloth, he crouched and walked to the side of the man in black. The news is accurate, it won't appear, the situation that those guys suddenly came over. Skull, you and I don't deal with each other once, and you should have believed my news, the man in black said calmly. Advertisement. And the shriveled man called the skeleton showed a weird smile that was better than crying and couldn't see where it was going. Gia. That's good, Lao Su is ready today. My brothers and I, with ambitions, will do that kid today. Damn it. Because of him, I have the strength to be the teacher of curse. I have the strength. I can kill whoever wants to kill. Whoever wants to die is allowed to die. The birth of this B*********** D ruined my good life. Today, taking advantage of this opportunity, I must FK him. By the way, you are sure, what kind of Ryuichi kid can fight it, that monster Half-Life? Skeleton looked at the man in black seriously, his tone still a little unsure. Of course, his strength, I have personally experienced it, it hurts both sides, it is not a problem. Ah, I can't believe it, there will be such monsters again. Skeleton's tone was somewhat emotional, but his eyes were indeed quietly looking at the expression of the man in black. He still naturally saw this guy's small movements, but he didn't care. Believe it or not lies with you. I can only tell you that this is your last chance. In a few years, Gojo Satoru will truly become the invincible of this era. And you, Master Curse, will be like a mouse, hiding out of his sight forever, in the rotten sewers, docking their tails for survival. The words of the man in black seemed to have struck the deepest pain in the skeleton's heart. His face darkened, his brows furrowed. In the future you can see, to what extent is that kid named Ryuichi? He is not in the future. Not here. Yes. In other words, he is like a person who does not exist in this world. In the original world trajectory, there is no such person as Zenin Ryuichi. The man in black's voice instantly became a bit sharp. The whole body was convulsed a bit. The eyes hidden under the black robe quickly rendered a layer of jet black, making the eyes that were originally creepy even more creepy. The crow on the shoulder seemed to feel the master's emotions, and began to anxiously lick down his feathers. Quack quack. Don't get excited, I believe you, brothers, come out. Skeleton gave a grinning smile. Randomly waved his palm. Suddenly, big hands continued to appear all around, crawling out from various places, and one after another strange-looking guys appeared behind the skeleton in the black fog. Some are 3 meters tall, some are as short as myself, some have tattoos all over the body, and some are as fat as putty. But without exception, their bodies carry extremely powerful curses. There was a hideous smile on his face, a strong smell of blood on his body, and viscous blood continued to fall from above them. Advertisement, brothers. Kill Gojo Satoru, our happy life is back. Brother, I want to eat meat. Da Pang touched his fat belly and sullied his bald head, while his other hand was holding a half-eaten human leg. Fourth old, you can eat as much as you want in the future. Big brother, is his news accurate? The little dwarf asked softly. Skeleton didn't speak, but just nodded slightly. Brothers, it's done. Good. As the voice fell, the dark and strange black mist surged out under their feet, pulling their bodies into the ground again. Skull and others didn't even look at the man in black who kept mumbling to himself. After a long time, the rickety body of the man in black gradually became straight, and the crow on the shoulder also stopped the movement of dangling hair. The crow tilted his head and looked at his master quietly. The dark eyes were almost as dirty as the eyes of the man in black. The corners of his mouth constantly evoked an evil smile. The curvature of the corner of the mouth became larger and larger, and in the end, half of his face was occupied by his big mouth. The fangs in the mouth continued to spiral together, like a disgusting acupuncture point. A little scarlet flashed in his mouth, as if another pair. Cold evil eyes. You see, human beings are so ignorant. It only takes some small means to make them fight each other like wild dogs. The man in black seemed to be speaking to himself, and it seemed to be speaking to the crow on his shoulder. The tempura has awakened, and our plan must also be accelerated. Human beings, delay it as much as possible, delay it until. His voice became more and more vague, and his figure resembled a puddle of sludge, and his pounce, limp and then low. The crow on the shoulder flew high. Quack quack. Quack. In the strange cry, countless black feathers scattered all over the sky, and the rain of death was drifting again and again. Chapter 74 Advertisement. The Imperial Competition Arena. Ryuichi's whole body shone like a crystal. The power of 6 Immortal Thief Treasury works at full capacity. The power that has been hidden in the 5-6 fun organs is continuously blessed on his physical body. The white eyes of the moon, like a bright moon in the sky, were indifferent and without the slightest emotion. He looked at the opposite, Gojo Satoru, who trampled everything around him to pieces, and clenched his fists tightly. The battlefield at the moment. Under the blessing of Jujutsu, the ground, which is claimed to be indestructible even by missiles, was already broken every inch. Every piece of land was bombarded by powerful forces and shattered by shock. Unlimited art is really tricky. Before my attack falls, I can create several infinites and intercept them. It is unimaginable that the future Gojo can turn such a terrifying ability into passive and unconsciously release. Only relying on the blessing of Shenji and 6 Immortal Thief Treasury, I am afraid it will be difficult to beat him. Ryuichi's eyes condensed slightly, his muscles tightened, and the space around him was faintly distorted. It was a sign that his strength had been compressed to the extreme. Just relying on 6 Immortal Thief Treasury and Divine Armament 100 refinements cannot pose a threat to Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru's technique has no lower limit, which is simply a bud-level existence. Before Feng Huchi Men has been unlocked, most of Ryuichi's attacks cannot touch Gojo Satoru. On Gojo Satoru's side, he was also caught in thinking. There was a shocking force collision between the two just now. Based on physical skills alone, Ryuichi is absolutely crushed, and his own Kang and Hyuk are very difficult. Hit the super fast Ryuiki, and once touch the defensive posture of no lower limit art. I have unbearable Ryuichi's power to make the rock fall. Suddenly, the two were in a stalemate at the same time. Ieri Shoko stood on the high platform worriedly, her hands clasped tightly, her nails penetrated her skin, she didn't even notice it. Although she is not good at fighting, she has been mixed with Gojo Satoru and Sha Yuja all the year round, and her vision is naturally elevated. He also saw the current situation. Gojo can't bear Ryuichi's power, and so a Hyuk's speed can't catch Ryuichi's figure. And Ryuichi's attack can't fall on Gojo, and even if he attacks rashly, it is easy to expose the flaws and be hit by Gojo Satoru's attack. Xiao Wu is right. This guy is like a walking humanoid Tyrannosaurus. Xiao Yu just smiled that seemed to be forever narrowed, her narrow eyes staring at the battlefield below. He used to be so confident, mastering top-level jujutsu and cursed spirit operations, which made him truly believe that he and Gojo Satoru were generally the strongest existence. When Yaga Masamichi proposed to let Ryuichi participate in this battle, although Xiao Yuja didn't say anything, in the deepest part of my heart, he never thought that Ryuichi was really qualified to stand side by side with himself and others. But at this moment, everything that happened before him told him. Zenin Ryuichi, behind this mediocre name, what a powerful existence is. Advertisement: if in the battlefield, if you are standing in Ryuichi's position at the moment, I am afraid that you will not be able to withstand Gojo's blow with all the cursed spirit. Monster. After a long while, Xiao Yu just spit out these two words faintly. But if this continues to consume, Xiao Wu will win. Xiao Wu's curse power is the only existence in this generation that is close to infinity. At present, there are two kinds of jujutsu in Ryuichi. One is the ability to convert objects into cursed tool, and the other is jujutsu, which is similar to the heirloom, which continuously increases his body. But under the circumstances, Xiao Wu will still win. Between the words of Yaga Masamichi, it seems that Ryuichi's failure has been judged. Upon hearing this, Shoko couldn't help but bit his lip. His face was pale with no trace of blood. Xiao Yuja nodded. He very much agrees with the teacher's opinion, just about to say something. Suddenly, his face was taken aback, his eyes tightly looked at Ryuichi's back, and he looked at what happened in front of him incredibly. That is, super cursed spirit, after several clashes. Ryuichi decided that he couldn't beat Gojo at this moment by only testing two skills. So he did not hesitate to choose to understand the third stunt of Feng. Dispatch of Detained Spirits. Behind him, a black whirlpool faintly emerged, and bursts of terrifying aura continued to converge, and the entire battlefield was enveloped by a woman's cry. Gojo, you are the first to see me as a recruiter. Ryuichi clasped his hands together, a curious and ominous black aura hovering continuously over his body. The breath is pure darkness, without any impurities, representing the most primitive fear of mankind. Pure darkness. Oh. Seeing what happened before him, Gojo Satoru not only didn't have the slightest tension, but also looked forward to it. The pupil of the sky, with a sense of warfare, looked at everything quietly. Oh my god, is that cursed spirit? Advertisement. Diaresis, what the hell is that guy's jujutsu? Why, can he still control the cursed spirit? It's a special grade cursed spirit. Everyone could hardly believe their eyes, looking behind Ryuichi, the faceless woman with long white hair, full of resentment and curse intertwined, fell into a tumult. Like Jia, can you control the cursed spirit's abilities? Gojo Satoru's eyes suddenly became very alert, and the two fingers of his left hand moved quietly together. Dispatch of Detained Spirits, serving spirit. Ryuichi's hands spread out in an instant, and the woman behind him with endless grievances instantly turned into a small black ball and fell into Ryuichi's hands. Dispatch of Detained Spirits. One of the abilities of Dispatch of Detained Spirits transforms the cursed spirit into a simple force, integrates into the body, within a short period of time, obtains all the abilities of the opponent, and will greatly increase the self. Click. The soul pill was thrown into the air by Ryuichi. In an instant, a wave of cold and strange power wafted out of his body, and countless shadows raged behind Ryuichi, like a demon in the abyss. Ready. Good money and good, are you ready for the baptism? Ryuichi's voice had a strange accent, as if someone was repeating his words. He had never felt so good before, and powerful power filled his body. Hey! Without waiting for Ryuichi to sigh, a terrifying shock engulfed the huge curse power, and it was instantly killed. That force tore the ground every inch, like the scratches left by a steel knife on the ice. A tyrannical shock appeared in front of Ryuichi instantly. Heaven's grievance Jujutsu Kira. When facing the impact that was already capable of destroying everything, Ryuichi raised a palm unhurriedly. The dark purple light bursts instantly. Buzzing. Click. The light split instantly into countless lights and shadows, and instantly penetrated into the terrifying impact from all directions. And that unstoppable terrifying impact was completely annihilated in less than a second. Chapter 75. Advertisement. This is, when everyone didn't see what happened, only Gojo Satoru could see through what happened just now with his 6 eyes. At the moment Hyuk was about to hit, the power Ryuichi released was not an equally powerful impact. On the contrary, it was an extremely gentle force, like a feather that kept passing here's impact. And the reason why he will dissipate under that kind of power is because, in less than a second, Ryuichi's light and shadow were copied at least tens of thousands of times, reducing it again and again, the ejection power he brought. Be careful, Ryuichi seems to have intentionally reminded Gojo. But before the words fell, the figure burst out in an instant, the purple light in his hand continued, and the ghost behind him was faint. Like a demon in hell, he slammed out. Gojo Satoru's eyes shrank sharply, his feet quickly exerted force, and he backed away instantly, and his hands quickly formed a seal. The endless condensed in front of him. But suddenly, a big hand suddenly appeared in Gojo's condensed infinity. Suddenly, countless purple lights and shadows have replicated hundreds of interferences, growing wantonly in the unformed infinity. Gojo Satoru's eyes shrank uncontrollably. Click. The infinity, which was claimed to be unbreakable, burst in front of Ryuichi. But Gojo Satoru has already made another mudra with his left hand. Kang. Base. Under the explosive thrust, his body quickly retreated, turning Kang upside down, with the help of the tyrannical thrust. In the blink of an eye, the distance between him and Ryuichi has been opened tens of meters. Infinite is broken. This almost broke Gojo Satoru's cognition. The formation of infinity is by relying on the absolute observation power of the six eyes to continuously condense atoms to form the so-called absolute closed loop, that is, infinity with no lower limit. But the current Gojo Satoru can't achieve the strength that can be gathered in an instant. If the future Gojo Satoru may not wait for Ryuichi to kill. With just a movement of your mind, countless closed loop spaces will appear and become truly infinite. But 16-year-old Gojo Satoru is far from able to do this. Therefore, before the atom has formed a closed ring, Ryuichi uses the power of tempura to replicate thousands or even tens of thousands of powers that are so weak that they can't even destroy atoms. This is enough to promote the movement of the atoms, and the interference formed is also enough to prevent Gojo Satoru, who has not completely completed the technique at the moment, unable to use the unlimited lower limit. Advertisement. This conjecture was conceived when Ryuichi first got the temptress. Unexpectedly, it is really feasible. Gojo. Now there is no way to achieve instant infinity, you can't beat me, give up. Ryuichi made a suggestion to Gojo Satoru that he thought the other party would not accept. As predicted, when Gojo Satoru heard Ryuichi's words, a look that had never appeared before flashed in his eyes. The corners of the mouth kept picking up. Obviously has fallen into a decline. But he was still so indifferent, but in that indifferent, there was a bit more seriousness that he had never seen before. Ryuichi, I didn't see the wrong person. You were right. I admit that the current unlimited technique is already half the cost for you. But, in my Gojo Satoru dictionary, I have never failed with these two words. Base. Bang bang bang. Gojo Satoru does not retreat but advances. There was a speed not inferior to Ryuichi, and he rushed towards Ryuichi. For a long time, he has never felt any pressure. For Gojo Satoru, it seems that the word battle is so unfamiliar. From birth to the present, no matter he is facing anyone, he seems to move his fingers casually to eliminate everything. But now, he finally understood why some people would laugh out loud in that boring battle. Because he never really fought. At this moment, he thoroughly enjoyed the first real battle in his life. A battle that was evenly matched, even downwind. Good coming. Ryuichi's whole body strength exploded, and under the blessing of Temptress and six Immortal Thief Treasury, a stronger horizontal force broke out. Direct towards Gojo Satoru like a meteor. Hey! Gojo Satoru made the seal with one hand, and the force of the impact broke out instantly, and he walked side by side. Infinitely interrupting his impact, his other hand is carrying Kang's suction, converging into a fist. This move took the embryonic form of the future Gojo Satoru's strongest stunt, Lu, outrageously. Everyone's eyes were tightly looking at the young two on the court. After they know this trick, god of the younger generation, no. The sky of Jujutsu World is about to change. The last man standing on the field will become unrivaled, crushing a generation. Advertisement. Invincible. Just when the power of Ryuichi and Gojo was about to collide. Some inexplicable force cut off everything around it and appeared in the middle of the entire arena almost in the blink of an eye. The figures of Ryuichi and Gojo were completely hidden. What? Who was making trouble? The two elders, whose whole body and mind were completely placed on Gojo Satoru and Ryuichi, were furious at the moment that power appeared. Because the battle was more than just a battle between two young people. Even after 1,000 years, the pair of rivals once met again. Only this time, the Gojo family is still a powerful unlimited technique. And the other party's methods were still vaguely above the 10 shadow methods of Zenin's family. I'm so brave, someone feels like to intervene in the big three sorcerer families. The old Zenin's hands quickly formed seals, and strange eyes kept appearing in the space behind him. However, the elder of the Gojo family waved his hand violently, directly disrupting the formation of Jujutsu. What are you doing? I should ask you. Now the situation inside is unknown. What will happen to you this time? Can you be responsible for it? This elder Zenin was speechless for a while. Indeed, in this situation, no one can tell what will happen. It's not a domain, but something similar to an account, but with rejection. Wait and see, you can't act rashly. The elder of Kamo's family moved his finger lightly, and a string of blood was torn apart before it got close to the arena. Suddenly, the entire Sai Zhang family did not know how to do it. If there are others inside, they may directly violently destroy it. But at this moment, there is the next head of the Gojo family. Although he does not recognize the identity of the Zenin family, but the Zenin family is close to death. If it is really because of the actions of others that has disrupted a certain balance, the consequences can hardly be imagined. I can only wait and see. The old man in Kamo's family sighed, but there was indeed an invisible flash of ecstasy in his eyes. Chapter 76. Advertisement. This is. The power of Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru that was about to explode was under control in an instant. The strength of the two has reached a level where they can be retracted freely, facing the sudden abnormal situation. The two of them reduced their strength almost at the same time. Behind Ryuichi, the tempura shadow gradually peeled away. Looking at the dark scene around him, his eyes narrowed slightly. His near-predictive intuition brought about by 6 Immortal Thief Treasury. Tell him. In this space, there are other people besides myself and others. Ryuichi, it seems that I'm damaging you. Gojo Satoru looked unpleasant. I didn't know where I took out a pair of black sunglasses and brought it up again. Since his birth, anyone who wants to take the life of Gojo Satoru has no idea. He was also bored from the very beginning to the numbness now. He has been unable to count how many unconscious cursed divisions have appeared in front of him. But, until now, only Gojo Satoru is still alive. It's just that he didn't expect this time that the other party was so courageous, playing tricks in front of so many families. Gia, Gojo Satoru, you really got hurt. The gloomy voice of the skeleton came from all directions. Ryuichi sat cross-legged on the ground, clearly in an unknown realm, but he seemed to be on his own sofa. There is no tension at all. Gojo Satoru tilted his head, a bit of irritation in his eyes. He had a feeling that in the battle with Ryuichi, he was almost able to touch a brand new realm he had never touched before. That will make one's own strength rise again for another stage. But, he was interrupted by a group of gangsters in his fight. Gojo Satoru's eyes seemed to burn with an icy flame. The strong killing intent continued to condense on his body. Since it's here, don't hide it, tuck it in. My friend is still waiting for me. If you want to call, hurry up. Gojo still looks so frivolous, but there is something inexplicable in his tone. Ho ho ho, Gojo Satoru, do you know, why do we hate you? The skeleton's voice sounded again, the voice floating, and Gojo Satoru's 6 eyes couldn't find the opponent's location for the first time. It seems to have come prepared, able to avoid 6 eyes, interesting. Sorry, people who hate me are nothing compared to people who like me. No way, it's so handsome, it's so annoying, alas, being excellent is really a headache. Gojo sighed and shrugged helplessly, as if he was really bored by his own excellence. Click. The skeleton made a crisp sound as if it had crushed its own teeth. Advertisement. Ho ho ho, it's your attitude that makes us hate you even more. Why can you change everything when you were born? Why, you can interfere with our happiness. Why, you have to frame everything with your own worldview. Those ignorant humans. Weak scum. It should be our plaything. Toys. Dolls. The skeleton's voice became hoarse. Gojo Satoru's face continued to darken, and the momentum of his whole body became more and more tyrannical as the skeleton spoke. Why? What do you want to do and what you can do? I am actually not interested in knowing. If I have to, then I give a reason, then, because I am willing. Because, I'm strong enough. Gojo Satoru's voice constantly echoed in the black space. Sudden, ripples appeared in the black space. Black tentacles continued to fly out in all directions. Towards Gojo Satoru slayed fiercely. The tentacle injury carries a mixture of 4 or 5 spells. Like a poisonous snake, insidiously rushed out from various positions. A scornful smile appeared at the corner of Gojo Satoru's mouth. There is no lower limit for the quick launch of the technique. The count is infinite, surrounded by Gojo Satoru, and stopped all those tentacles. Do you really think about cutting off your brain? Is it serious to deal with me with this method? Gojo Satoru joked, but in fact he was constantly looking for the other person's breath. Gia, Gojo, you are really slow. The skeleton burst into a wild laugh. This sound made Gojo Satoru startled slightly. But what happened next? But it made Gojo Satoru's eyes shrink slightly and his brows frowned. Click. Only a strange sound was heard. On the tentacles, a black haze continued to surface. And the infinity created by no lower limit. A crack appeared. Click. Gojo Satoru was shocked, and the curse power of his whole body exploded quickly and wanted to evacuate. Seeking flowers. But he was trapped by the countless flexible tentacles. The moment his tentacles touched him again. Advertisement. Gojo Satoru was surprised to find out. The curse power in one's own body. I can't transfer it. Gia, do you know, how long did we plan for this operation? That guy is right. Jujutsu is not complete for you now, just disturb. Disturb. The skeleton was stuck as if it had forgotten the word. FK, that word is forgotten, anyway, you are a trash now. Take it to death. Base. Shit. Dense tentacles continuously emerged from all directions. In the front part of the tentacles, a sharp sickle appeared with countless broken teeth on it. It's chilling. On the other hand, Gojo Satoru seemed to be caught in some deep thought, and he was stunned. Interference, weakness, weakness. Quack. Brother, is this guy crazy? Speaking of which, did you forget and leave me here? Ryuichi's voice suddenly appeared in Skeleton's ears. The voice echoed like a ghost. Sen cold and ruthless. A big hand suddenly appeared in front of the skeleton's eyes. Pouch. Ryuichi tilted his head and looked at the black space in front of him. He quickly raised his left hand and inserted it in an instant. One strangled the neck of the skeleton hidden in it. With slight force, he directly pulled out the scrawny skeleton. Impossible. How could you find me? Skeleton and mung bean-sized glasses were spinning around. He was held in his hand by Ryuichi, like a weak chicken. Hee, maybe I can smell the stench on your body. Ryuichi waved his hand on his nose as he said. A look of disgust. Damn. Old 3 and 4. Get this kid first. Skeleton shouted. He was pinched by Ryuichi, but he was still able to make a sound. ... But his voice received no response. The third child. The fourth child. Stop calling. Ryuichi glanced at the skeleton impatiently. Gently waved his finger. A figure faintly appeared behind him. As for the skeleton who saw all this clearly, bean-sized eyes suddenly widened. The whole body shivered slightly uncontrollably. Earth. Chapter 77. Advertisement. The third child. The fourth child. What did you do? What did you do? The skeleton roared like a madman, looking at everything in front of him, and screamed in horror. In front of him, a woman with white clothes and black hair floated faintly in the air. Her white clothes seemed to be wet with water, and her feet were dripping with blood. Her long hair was constantly flying in all directions, like countless cold poisonous snakes. And at the front end of the hair, the long black hair runs through everything. The short dwarf has his limbs twisted, the tall fat man has his belly cut open, and the tattooed man's skin is all stripped off. Each of them opened their eyes wide, as if they couldn't believe what happened. Perhaps at the moment of death, they didn't understand that this young man who was also caught in, actually had such a terrifying power. Everything they plan carefully can be blinded by 6 eyes, but cannot cover Ryuichi, the intuition that is close to an unknown prophet. 387 While the skeleton was still talking about Gojo Satoru, he controlled the temptress to grab these guys one by one from the shadows. It didn't even cost much effort. Your curse and jujutsu are all occupied by the dark things around you. They can't even turn on jujutsu at all. You scumbags, why come to interrupt our fight? Ryuichi's tone was somewhat mocking, and his eyes were cold without any emotion. A strong killing intent shrouded his heart. Ho ho ho. So, you lie to me, you lie to me. How dare you lie to me? The skeleton yelled like crazy. A line of blood and tears fell from the corner of his eyes. Seeing the misery of his brothers, everything in the past constantly echoed in his mind. The second child who likes tattoos and collects human skin. The youngest who was short and likes to cut off people's hands and feet. And the naive fourth who loves to eat human flesh. But now, one of them had their hands and feet cut off, one was stripped of human skin, and the other was ripped apart. This scene is like a very mocking picture. The skull's blood and tears stained his cheeks. We just want freedom. What's wrong with us? Listening to the heart-piercing wailing of skeleton. Ryuichi's face didn't fluctuate in the slightest, like a dead sea, lifeless. It's as if the sky is above, ruthless and unrighteous. It's really troublesome to ask me to say something, so. Just take it as it is, the evil taste of the strong is better. Ryuichi didn't even bother to glance at the skeleton. Who defines good and evil, and who has different opinions about black and white? This is complicated and simple. Ryuichi doesn't want to explain, and there is no need to explain. Advertisement. The world is not black or white, and it may not be clear, but one thing is always true. That is, the strong are always strong. Only by being strong can we have everything and master everything, and finally define good and evil. But obviously, the skeleton is a well-deserved weak in front of Ryuichi. Maybe he can have some means to limit Gojo Satoru when his mind is in a period of fading. But facing Ryuichi, who is like a demon, he can only whine weakly like a chicken boy. Go to reunion. Ryuichi's hands were exerting force in vain, and the tyrannical force suddenly exploded. Click. Skeleton didn't even have time to let out a scream, and the sound of a broken throat sounded. Click. The body fell weakly onto the ring. It looked like an old doll, full of cracks. Until the end, Ryuichi didn't ask his purpose. They planned for a long time, not hesitating to join the devil, in exchange for an opportunity. In front of Ryuichi is so weak and pale. Perhaps for the dragon, the ant's conspiracy is not enough, and there is no interest even in listening more. Gojo, how long do you have to rest? Zenin Ryuichi turned his head, looked at the Gojo Satoru who was bound by countless tentacles, and said jokingly. He felt that the current Gojo Satoru, from mind to body, is constantly changing. This kind of transformation is a dream that ordinary people can hardly find once in their lives. But under such a weird scene, Gojo Satoru started transformation at will. Ryuichi broke through the shock of his unrestricted technique, full of joy, and was shocked by the calculations of the ants. All emotions kept circling in Gojo Satoru's heart. The shape of the soul determines the posture of the body. The strength of the body changes the state of the soul. Gojo Satoru at this moment is like a new life. The curse power that resembles a huge wave constantly emerges all over the body, and the tentacles that can absorb the curse power fall out one after another as if they were invalidated. Click, click. Gojo Satoru's body floated in the air. The 6 pale blue eyes were cold without any emotion. In this weird space, an inexplicable aura engulfed everything. Advertisement. Ryuichi looked at Gojo in midair, thoughtfully. In the original storyline, Gojo Satoru's transformation should be completely completed after the Tianyuan incident, after losing in the battle with Zenin Shire. But, all this changed with the appearance of Ryuichi. A butterfly flapping its wings slightly can cause a terrifying storm on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. Ryuichi is a well-deserved dragon. This empire contest does not exist in the original world line. Gojo Satoru was invincible in that timeline, breaking the young generation's spine before the so-called Gozen competition began. And without the royal contest, the plans of the Black Man and this group of guys can also be implemented. The final result of everything is Gojo Satoru completed the transformation ahead of schedule. The curse power of Gojo Satoru's whole body continued to converge, but Ryuichi hadn't noticed that his power became stronger. There is great fear between life and death. The power of the mantra comes from the ingestion of negative emotions. The emotion between life and death is above all else. Gojo Satoru, who saw the shadow of death for the first time, showed a somewhat crazy smile. He opened his eyes wide, his white hair was calm, and the corners of his mouth were grinning upwards, revealing white teeth. Ryuichi, although I know that these words are out of date and should not be said now, but I am sorry. I have never been so good like now. I only feel that the world is in the sky, and I am the only one who is the only one in the world. Vigorous. Boom. His curse power quickly condensed, and there were violent explosions centered on him in midair. In the explosion, the breath of Gojo Satoru is as dazzling as the sun. But Ryuichi smiled slightly, and the tempura was hiding behind him, not entering the shadow under his feet. At this moment, behind Ryuichi, a crimson full moon appeared constantly. The outcome is undivided. Then fight. Base. Base. The shady hasn't faded, but the big curtain unfolded again. Chapter 78. Advertisement. The power of the two is constantly improving, and the powerful curse power erupts unscrupulously in this real spoof space. ZZZ. Titicaca. The power of horror seemed to have turned into waves of thunder, entangled in Ryuichi's body continuously. His moon-white eyes were cold without the slightest emotion. Heaven's grievance Jujutsu Higanhua. Ryuichi tapped his feet lightly, his body instantly twisted, like an evil dragon, blatantly killing Gojo. The purple halo renders everything around. Vaguely. Countless dark purple flowers fluttering in the wind. A long and winding blood-colored river that stretches across the sky and the earth seems to reappear from hell. Submerge everything in the world. A sea of blood, accompanied by endless curse power. Ryuichi is set off like a demon who has ruled the world since ancient times. The flowers on the other side bloom, and all beings are lonely. Titicaca. The space uttered an overwhelmed scream, as if in front of this man, everything in this world should be bowed down, and it should be so. Facing such a terrifying blow, the unchanging frivolity on Gojo Satoru's face has quietly retreated. He looked solemnly at the sea of blood that 23 seemed to be about to drown everything. In the eyes of the sky, an astonishing color burst out. Ryuichi, you are the first person who has seen this trick. At the moment when the huge waves are about to overwhelm Gojo Satoru. Gojo Satoru's hands quickly printed. The tyrannical impetus and attraction erupted on his hands separately. Under this terrifying power, the surrounding space actually began to twist and deform. And Ryuichi used the tempura's jujutsu to cast a spell that replicated countless times the bloody curse power, and quickly annihilated in front of Gojo Satoru. Like spring water and white dew falling into the fire. Quietly, Ryuichi's eyes shrank slightly, and he quickly recalled in his mind that among the comics he had read, that Gojo Satoru should have been able to comprehend the strongest skill many years later. Because of his arrival, Gojo Satoru, who was thoroughly stimulated, has already transformed ahead of time, and has grasped the authority that would destroy everything in advance. Base. Yulin suddenly rose, and the magical machine on Ryuichi's chest exploded quickly except for a burst of curse power. The force dragged Ryuichi's body and quickly withdrew from the river of blood that was constantly being submerged and annihilated. Titicaca. At this moment, all the surrounding objects, beside Gojo Satoru, seemed to have lost their meaning, all the things began to tear constantly. Advertisement. The ground under your feet is constantly twisting, in the collision of positive infinity and negative infinity. Space and time have lost their meaning. Base. An invisible force burst out instantly centered on Gojo. The translucent light film instantly enveloped everything around him. Ryuichi's black energy kept surging. Behind him constantly appeared the cursed spirit controlled by him. They were densely packed like puppets, standing in a row behind Ryuichi. Is it the prototype of immeasurable void? He looked at Gojo Satoru who had entered the state of selflessness with a solemn expression. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the guy Gojo Satoru actually awakened the prototype of boundless space. If he is really pulled into the so-called inner side of the unlimited lower limit. The current self is absolutely unable to withstand the unlimited bombing from no lower limit. At least before Feng Hu Chi Men has been unlocked, he is absolutely unable to face this kind of bug-level power in immeasurable void. Ryuichi quickly raised his left hand, and his fingers were brought together. The black aura in his body kept surging, and eternal night seemed to descend instantly. Dispatch of Detained Spirits bailing possession. Whoosh whoosh. Shocking. In an instant, Ryuichi seemed to turn into a terrifying black hole, and his tyrannical attraction burst out in an instant. The hundreds of cursed spirit behind him kept pouring into his body. His breath is constantly becoming tyrannical, and the curse power floats on his body like a substance. Click. A black mask slowly condensed on his face. That moment, as if Shura came to the world. The devil is resurrected. The black flames lightly burned under his feet, and the space around him was slightly shaken by the terrifying force. The strongest power of Dispatch of Detained Spirits sacrifices all cursed spirits except Tenfu, and condenses their jujutsu completely. Ryuichi's body exploded with far more bizarre power. Click. Bump. The power was in midair, colliding with the power trying to pull Ryuichi into the realm. Moment. Like fireworks, endless light burst out in the black space. Water chestnut. Gojo Satoru's hands quickly formed seals, and his tyrannical power continued to condense in his palm. The positives and negatives are infinite, and in an instant, they were forcibly needed by Gojo Satoru. Advertisement. When Ryuichi resisted the boundless space, Gojo Satoru understood that the incomplete field he had just mastered could not be limited to the opponent. So he quickly discarded the immeasurable space. In turn, he revealed his strongest blow. That is called, enough to penetrate the stars. The strongest. Titicaca. Rumble. Endless imaginary power instantly poured out in this space. The space actually began to shatter and twist. The black matter shrouded in the surroundings quickly collapsed. And everything that was obliterated was unexpectedly blessed on the Lu, released by Gojo Satoru. Try to take this trick. Let me see to what extent my kind can do it. And Ryuichi looked at the horrible power that was completely close to the natural disaster. A scarlet flash flashed in his eyes, and then a large amount of black aura invaded his eyes. A happy smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Faced with the shock of terror that could almost annihilate everything. That shock that surpassed the imaginary limit of mankind. Gojo, you are very strong, but now you are not enough. He brazenly raised a left hand. Boom. The black curse power all over his body exploded directly, like a black hole exploded in front of him. Sacrificing 570 cursed spirits of different strengths and weaknesses, Ryuichi's move seems to open an endless door to hell. No one knows what the other side of the black hole is. But the shock that was enough to destroy everything was swallowed by the black hole. Ryuichi's breath keeps getting weaker, but the smile on his face is indeed getting brighter. The shady is under the gaze, and everything is shattered. The sky appeared above the two of them again. On the other hand, Ryuichi is like a ghost, and instantly appears in front of Gojo Satoru, who has collapsed because of the first release of C. I1. Bang. An uppercut with terrifying power hit Gojo Satoru's stomach directly. Gojo Satoru, who was completely exhausted, was beaten high with a fist. Click. Fell to the ground. And because Ryuichi, who sacrificed all the cursed spirits, stood motionless and fell into a semi-conscious state. He is dressed in white clothes and has black hair like ink. He is standing in the middle of the arena, as if standing on the top of the world. At this moment, a big mountain is pressing on everyone's hearts. Chapter 79. Advertisement. The entire arena was quiet without any sound. It should have been full of voices in the arena. At this moment, even the sound of a needle falling to the ground can be heard clearly. Ieri Shoko looked worriedly at the black barrier in the middle of the arena. The appearance of the black enchantment was too weird, and there was no way to deal with it in the academy. The old principal's barrier was invaded, without any hint. You must know that this realm was arranged jointly by Lord Tianyuan and the old principal, who are known as the living fossils of Jujutsu. Never thought of being hacked. The senior management of the college has already begun to investigate the matter. Only Ieri Shoko is left here. The problem now is more than simply fighting between the two. It is about an invisible battle between families. The next generation patriarch of the Gojo family. The traitorous genius of the Zenin family. The geniuses of these two eras, in the Jujutsu Academy, were locked in a barrier on the field of the Imperial examination. This is like throwing a deep-sea bomb in the Jujutsu world, which is already undercurrent. People from Zenin's and Gojo's family didn't say anything at the moment. But the tyrannical forces that continue to appear on the periphery of the academy have shown everything. If the college can't give a perfect account of this matter, then, what will appear next is not just something that can be solved in a game like the Royal Front. If this incident is not handled properly, it may even trigger a family battle that affects the entire Jujutsu world. College, I hope that you will be prepared and give a perfect answer. Xiao Wu is the next generation of our Gojo family and is also a student of your college. We can let his willfulness and let him join your academy, but you have to be clear about one thing. What position are you standing facing me waiting? We will give you all the power to handle this event, but should you give us an explanation about this? If Gojo Satoru has any shortcomings, Jujutsu Academy, there is no need to exist. In the high platform of Gojo's house, the elder's voice came out peacefully. But the anger hidden behind that tone is like a monstrous flame, igniting everything. The elder of the Zenin family sat down uncharacteristically, without saying much. But on his wrinkled old faces, a murderous intent flashed from time to time, and it seemed that his heart was not as peaceful as it seemed on the surface. Advertisement. Although Zenin Ryuichi was very dismissive of the attitude of the Zenin family, Zenin elders were already convinced by Ryuichi's strength. With one's own power, the world will be wiped out. Completely defeated all the children of the family, leaving him and Gojo Satoru alone in the entire battlefield. How overbearing this is, and how arrogant it is. This is the tolerance that Zenin's bloodline should have. Looking down on all the beings in this world, standing on the top of the mountain, lonely and invincible. This is Zenin's house. Zenin has ruled the world for thousands of years. If something happens to Ryuichi, then just give him a funeral. The Zenin family is waiting for an heir who can restrain Gojo Satoru. But I didn't expect that the flame of hope had just been ignited, and Ryuichi was deeply trapped in the barrier that didn't know what it was. The real killing intent is pure malice that has been born from the heart without any signs. If there is any accident to Ryuichi, then he doesn't mind, ruining the entire Jujutsu Academy. Just when everyone's minds were attracted by the dark barrier, a terrifying force broke out instantly. Rumble. The tyrannical aura was like a hurricane that extinguished the heavens and the earth, and it frightened everything around without any vitality. All the air was completely drained. Cracks popped up on the dark round enchantment, and the frightening aura became more violent as the enchantment broke. Feel this terrifying and familiar power. Gojo's parents took up excitedly. Silence. Destroy. Wipe out all meaning. It's Xiao Wu. This is the strongest power of unlimited spells. Since that generation of Gojo Patriarch and Zenin Patriarch died together, Luyan has never appeared in Gojo's house again, and the unlimited technique has also been lost. Jujutsu is a force that was etched in the bones the moment Jujutsu was born. Although the Gojo family has inherited the existence of no lower limit technique, they are all pretty. They are not even as good as ordinary Jujutsu teachers. Because if you want to release the unlimited lower limit, you must have 6 eyes, and only those who are born with 6 eyes can master the use of the unlimited lower limit technique. Even if the remaining people hold the unlimited lower limit, they will not be able to use the unlimited lower limit technique even once in their lifetime. So Elder Gojo has never seen the true power of no lower limit. Advertisement. But in the history books of the Gojo family, there was such a sentence. In the past 5 years, the 100 ghosts walked in the night, the cursed spirit became a city, the Lord came, the 100 ghosts were destroyed, and everything was gone. So he knows that the true power of no lower limit is the imaginary that can erase everything. Titicaca. The black enchantment was shattered layer by layer, endless imaginary pouring continuously, as if to drown everything. Diaresis, oh my god, such power. I'm afraid that guy is dead. Is this the strongest posture? The generation of the Gojo family is terrible, and there is no room for resistance. That kid won't be crushed. Everyone talked and watched the terrifying impact, unscrupulously turning everything into nothingness in the middle of the arena. Titicaca. Rumble. The deafening explosion exploded the entire arena. Countless smoke and dust covered everything. The black barrier shattered like a broken egg. The Zenin family's face, Good Money Zhao, looked at the stadium with a green face, while the Gojo family next to him was proud. Gojo is the strongest with all its power, there is no doubt about it. Everyone looked closely at the center of the arena. Looking forward to the final result of this battle. The smoke dissipated on the island. A slender figure stood quietly on the spot. Opposite him, the white-haired boy sat on the ground. The breath on the two of them was very sluggish. Everyone's eyes tightened completely uncontrollably. The elders of the Gojo family couldn't believe everything in front of them. In the battlefield, the figure was white as snow, arrogant and arrogant. His gaze swept across the entire arena quietly, no one dared to look at him wherever his gaze was. The 4 corpses lying quietly on the ground behind him. Caesarean section, heartbroken, skin peeling, split hands, skull crushing, the tragedy makes people shudder. Chapter 80. Advertisement. Gojo Satoru fell to the ground. He raised his head and looked at Ryuichi in front of him, with a bit of bitterness on the corners of his mouth. Unexpectedly, I actually lost. At least for now, he is not yet Ryuichi's opponent. One person stands, the other sits down, up and down, immediate results. Even if Gojo Satoru still has the power to fight, he knows that what he needs most now is to perfect the boundless void, and see that he has just understood as quickly as possible. You won. You won. You won. This sentence echoed in the arena for a long time, the moment it came out of Gojo Satoru's mouth. All the families present know that the heavens in the Jujutsu world have changed. Gojo Satoru, who was considered to be the hope of the entire Jujutsu world, admitted that he had lost. This means that that brutal guy will be the most powerful existence in this generation. Hearing Gojo Satoru's words, Ryuichi's face didn't have any pride. On the contrary, it was a bit gloomy. Did you win? He thought that his last punch was enough to knock Gojo Satoru stunned. But what I did not expect is, Gojo Satoru could actually be at the moment when his punch was about to explode. There is no lower limit for direct use without fingerprints. This means that the opponent still has the ability to fight, and once the jujutsu of one's tempura can't interfere with Gojo Satoru's limitlessness, then no matter how strong he is. Ryuichi knew that he couldn't hurt any of his hairs. As arrogant as him, he would never accept such an unexplained victory. You won. Ryuichi's voice rang from the arena, making everyone even more shocked. What the hell is this? Deep down in the hearts of both individuals, they think that they have not won, but they also believe that they have not lost. 10 years. 10 years. The unanimous voices of the two rang out indiscriminately. His eyes were like electricity, and they collided together in the air, as if sparks of debut were born. At the same time, a new period was set. 10 years later, it is divided into high and low. Advertisement. Ryuichi believes that 10 years is enough time for himself to unlock Fenghuchi men, who can fight against unlimited surgery. And Gojo Satoru also believes that 10 years is enough time for him to thoroughly research all the unlimited surgical techniques. Base. After the agreement between the two was over, Gojo Satoru didn't want to be delayed for a moment, and got up directly. The curse exploded, and his figure disappeared instantly. I don't care about the chaotic Aomai competition between my two people. I just want it. Ba Kai Chong Guyu. Ryuichi took a deep breath and looked up at the people who were still in shock. He hasn't forgotten his purpose. The reason for participating in this troublesome contest, his ultimate goal is to want the cursed object that seals the curse of the 8 different serpent. Ahem. According to the rules, since Gojo Satoru has surrendered, then the champion of this session is. Wait, just when the host is about to announce that Ryuichi will become the champion. The elder Kamo, who had been silent all the time, suddenly jumped out. With his eyes hanging, he walked out slowly and said with a fair and unselfish look. I don't think this competition is counted. Zenin Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru messed up the rules of the royal competition. This is obviously just a mess. Such a grand event is so mixed up, how can this be said in the past? 10,000 steps back. Even if Gojo Satoru and Zenin Ryuichi are strong enough, but with such a temperament, they are almost like urchins. You don't need to hold them accountable, but I will just do it when I watch this royal match. Kamo's parents' remarks were selfless, and they were completely spoken on the body of a notary. But none of the people present is not an old-fashioned person. You can see it at a glance. This old thing in Kamo's family is obviously because the entire battlefield has no relationship with his family, and he is jealous. Therefore, I use Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru to break the rules to make a fuss. Kamoya, you really don't want any dough. Zenin's parent said sarcastically. And the elders called Maoya. Ignore the other party's words at all, as if he would not let go of the rules. The people of Gojo's family have also begun to retreat because of Gojo Satoru's departure. However, the elders of the Gojo family also showed a bit of contempt in his eyes. I don't have the skills in my own family, so I just make a fuss about this crooked way. Huh, nonsense. The old man is for justice. It is for all the families. A great event to experience the young generation, it has become their personal show. Ask everyone, are you willing? Maoya tried to bring other families to speak for herself. But the leader who can be sent to participate in this grand event, there is no one who is friendly, a well-rounded and cunning individual. Advertisement. Some bowed their heads silently, and some looked up at the sky, but they were silent. Regarding your big 3 sorcerer families, just go and break it by yourself. We little fish and shrimps dare not mix up. The advantage is not our turn. When I was a cannon fodder, I remembered that we were here. I really didn't treat us as human beings. See, no one answered. Even Yiji Amaoya's dough can't let go. Just about to continue to say something. Suddenly a cold breath appeared behind him. A cold voice without the slightest emotion rang slowly in his ears. I said, I just want Ba Kai Chong Guyu. I don't care about any champion or family, and I don't want to have any thoughts about it with your rich family. So, if you continue to say some things are not available here, I don't know what will happen next. I think you don't want to know, do you? Ryuichi's voice was somewhat impatient. His patience has been squeezed to the limit. The killing intent on his body also began to surging constantly. Although he noticed that the old chirping guy in front of him had not weak strength. But at such a close distance, he was confident that he would blow the opponent's head with a punch before the other party had completed the seal. Unreasonable. Do you know who you are talking to? The young man in Kamo's house, seeing this scene, shouted this and rushed towards Ryuichi. A string of red blood appeared on his hand. With a not weak curse power, kill it. Stop it. Maoya suddenly shouted. The elder's majesty caused the young man to instantly stop his movements. Hehe. Not stupid. Ryuichi said coldly. If the young man really shot him just now, he wouldn't mind, he was killing one more person. Guyu, it's yours. Someone will deliver it to you tomorrow, and all the rewards are not here now. The rewards for the imperial examination were provided by the 5 forces and were stored in a hidden place. Guyu will be delivered to you tomorrow. After saying this, Zhao Maoya seemed to have grown a lot older in an instant, and his straight body gradually curved. Yield, he actually succumbed to a little boy. Chapter 81. Advertisement. The shameful anger kept burning in his heart. Don't worry, Ryuichi, my family will send Guyu to you tomorrow. Zenin's parents looked at Zhao Maoya triumphantly. My family. I don't seem to have anything to do with the Zenin family anymore. The reason why I still have the surname Zenin is entirely because this is the only thing left to me by my parents. You don't have any other ideas, otherwise I don't mind. In the future, there is only one Zenin in this world. Ryuichi's voice is cold and sharp, and his eyes are electric, and he has no liking for Zenin's family. No matter how the other party posted it upside down, it was difficult for him to show the slightest compassion. After saying this, without waiting for any reaction from others, a faint light suddenly appeared on his body, like a stream of light, breaking through the sky. Tomorrow I want to see what I want to see, otherwise. He didn't finish the deep meaning of what he said, but everyone really listened to it. A moment after Ryuichi left, the arena fell into a long silence. Academy, I hope I can get your explanation in the end. Zhao Maoya glanced at the depths of the academy, and in this way, he concealed his embarrassment. Cough cough cough. Everyone, what happened today? Our Tokyo Academy will give big three sorcerer families a satisfactory explanation. However, the old man and Master Tianyuan still have some important things to discuss, so I won't leave you. A melodious voice came slowly from the deepest part of the academy, and everyone who heard the voice felt that the whole body seemed to become more relaxed, and even the soul seemed to have been baptized. Old fox. The minds of the elders of big three sorcerer families were surprisingly the same. Woo, quack. The weird cry of the crow and the wailing of the undead seem to be the main theme of everything. Anyone who hears that voice will feel a little shuddering. In the cold and deep canyon, countless crows are flying all over the sky. The black feathers continued to fall in the sky like heavy rain. Every time the man in black takes a step, a crow falls behind him. Click, 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 click. Every piece of land he walked was covered by the bodies of crows. Advertisement. It's like a road to death piled up with life. This valley is one of the most famous places in Fuzhang. Suicide Valley. Every year, more than 3,000 people in Fuzhang will appear in this valley to watch and commit suicide. They died in a strange way. But without exception, these humans have a common feature, that is, their internal organs all disappear after death. Even more bizarre is that the abdomen of the dead did not show the slightest wound. It's as if these humans have never grown viscera. There are countless legends about this canyon, and even countless people who are looking for wonder and thought have come to visit one after another. Those who are not far away should also come to see this misty Death Canyon. But I don't know why. Tonight's Death Canyon is exceptionally quiet. The man in black walked on the slender road in the canyon, and every step he took represented a fall of life. Finally, he stopped in front of a cabin. The black curse of power continuously surged up and down his whole body, and the unknown aura slowly radiated from his body. As if calling something. Crunch. The dilapidated wooden door let out a cry of overwhelming grief. A small old man walked out of the wooden house. The old man was naked. Slowly walked in front of the man in black. Looking at the group of crows that had covered the entire ground with corpses behind him, he pursed his mouth. Use this kind of thing to fool me again. The old man's voice was like friction coming from a worn-out blower, and there was a burst of goosebumps. He squatted on the ground and took out a pipe at random. Take a sip happily. But if you look closely, you will find that it is not a pipe at all, but a human head that has been shrunk countless times, with a joint, and it is sucked in his mouth. He squinted his eyes, as if with a bit of enjoyment. On the road to death formed by the crow, a translucent breath quickly gathered in the air, and quickly moved closer to the old man's pipe. Yarrow, I hope you can help me. We have a chance in this era. The man in black sat beside the old man, his voice heard from the crow on his shoulder. Advertisement. The old man didn't look at him, but tapped the ground lightly with his pipe. Help you, the plan of that fellow Ryōmen Sukuna and Baki Orochi. I'm not interested. Plan this, calculate that, what do you think of yourself? Since 1,000 years ago, I have been impatient. The old man complained a little bit, and said again after smoking a cigarette. Seeking flowers. Didn't you have a big plan before? You failed. Yeah, the guy from the Gojo family is even more perverted than the Gojo of Zongjin, and in this generation, there is also a monster that is not weaker than him. Yarrow, think about it. We are the real, human beings. How many years have this world been occupied by disgusting worms? We should be the masters of this world. The man in black took off his headgear. Revealed his true colors. That face was actually similar to Gojo Satoru, with silver hair and blue eyes and sword eyebrow star pupils. Lie, how many years have you used this body? Yaluo didn't respond directly to his attitude, but looked at the man in black as if he was reminiscing something. Known as the lie of the man in black, he touched his cheek with his left hand and gently rubbed it a few times. I don't know, I have lived for too long. But compared to the oldest of the cursed spirit, I am still young. Are you really unwilling to help us? As long as you join us, our plan will be sure to succeed. My purpose is different from Baki Orochi and Ryōmen Sukuna. I want to bring back all the king of cursed spirit. He has slept for too long, and has been forgotten by the world for too long. Yaro, don't you want to resurrect your brother? Yaluo didn't speak, but just put the chimney on the ground. The red curse power on his body clung to him like a spider web, and two sharp horns appeared on his head. A red line rose below the corner of the eye. Haha, lie, you guy was born among human lies, cheating everything, you are different from all pure cursed spirits, you can even cheat yourself. But, for this alone, I believe you. Because everything in this world cannot be deceived. Die. Since the birth of human beings, they have been constantly fearing everything they don't know. Endless negative emotions are constantly increasing, and the horror born from that negative emotion is cursed spirit. And the most primitive and deepest fear of mankind, there will always be only one, that is, the complete end of life. The pain of eternal parting. And the unpredictable panic about the world after death. Die. This is the deepest fear. Earth. Chapter 82. Advertisement. Yada, in the language of the Lost Atlantis, has a unique meaning called zimming. Kill yourself and face death. Violating the human nature of seeking survival, suppressing the inner terror, self-destructing, and in that continuous resentment condenses together. From the fear of suicide, curse was born, and so far, curse has survived for a long time. Special grade specific cursed spirit, self-defeating god Yada. The strength of the cursed spirit will grow stronger with the growth of human emotions, and how terrifying is the curse that has existed since the birth of mankind. This is almost unimaginable, and what a terrifying existence would curse, who he could call his brother, exist. Let's say, what do you want me to do for you? One thing, I only help you one thing. To resurrect, big brother. Hearing Yada let go, a smile appeared on the lie's face, but there was indeed unspeakable malice hidden in it. He stretched out his hand. A small round mirror appeared in his hand, and a shadow flashed across the mirror from time to time. In a trance, it seemed that there was a figure of an ancient fierce beast raging in it. Oh, Yuanlu that B asterisk 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 D's cursed tool is actually in your hands, do you want me to destroy him? While speaking, the red curse on Yada's body instantly exploded. Rumble. Just saying this casually, strange palms constantly emerged throughout the canyon, as if hearing the king's call. The undead of hell are about to emerge from the ground. Of course not. This thing is still useful. I hope you can help me kill someone. In the process of my plan, he is bound to come to the Bachi mirror for more. You only need to help me kill him. Just fine. Hearing the lie, Yada squeezed his chin, then looked at the lie, showing some playfulness on his face. Can't you kill him? You jujutsu with a body, but there is no lower limit. He cracked the no lower limit. Click. As soon as the voice fell, there was a thunder in the sky. So that's it. The thunder light shone on Yada's face, but countless grievances continued to mourn around him. The technique of no lower limit was actually cracked, interesting. I promise you. But only this time. It depends on the face of my big brother. Advertisement. One time is enough. Quack quack. Click. The thunder in the sky seemed to be rendered red. The crow's cries echoed throughout the canyon. The deepest part of the valley. In the endless darkness, a huge coffin lay quietly in it. All around, countless bones held him up high. Like king. Dot 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 dot. It's a little too close. I can complete black and white impermanence in just one point. Ryuichi looked at the black and white figures in front of him and sighed slightly. The embryo of the super hypothetical cursed spirit has been conceived. Now there is only another large-scale emotional outburst. It can directly condense the black and white impermanence. Quickly, the forging of the magic machine is about to be completed. In order to detonate the fear of all Tokyo at the same time, Ryuichi uses Divine Armament 100 refinements to forge a treasure that can mobilize phantoms. And because he had collected a lot of curse power in the royal test before, this treasure was forged perfectly. There is only one opportunity now. Only when the time has come, he can completely complete his first man-made cursed spirit. Whether or not one's own conjecture can be realized, it depends on this time. He grabbed a blue go jade on the table casually. Let's play. This object is the Bakichon Guyu, which is the curse tool that seals 1/3 of the curse of the Baki Orochi. The Zenin family didn't have any thoughts of breaking their promises. Guyu was sent over on the second day of the game. Of course, during this period, many guests really came. Yaga Masamiki came to explain, Ieri Shoko who wanted to heal himself, and the elders sent by the Zenin family. Advertisement. But except for the little brother who sent Guyu to the Zenin family, the elders didn't even enter the door, so they were thrown out. Speaking of which, Ieri Shoko doesn't have any thoughts of me, right? Ryuichi recalled the tears of Ieri Shoko before, and he was definitely upset. He hated two things in his life, trouble and tears of women. Forget it, it doesn't matter. But the power of the Baki Orochi is really strange. It's resurrected, Adapted, swallowed, 2/3 of curse can feel these auras, it's really interesting. Ryuichi spreads out his palms. Wow. A small and exquisite Baki big snake appeared in his hand instantly, and the Baki at this moment was more powerful than the aura before. But his consciousness fell completely into a deep sleep. Ryuichi is sure that as long as curse is completely collected, he can completely enter his control with his cursed spirit before he has recovered his consciousness. Dang dang. Dang dang. There was a sudden knock on the door outside the door, and for a while, Ryuichi felt a little uncomfortable. After all, the group of guys around him seemed to come in through the window every time. He reduced his strength, and the 8-pointed snake disappeared instantly. Randomly waved his palm, and the door opened. Outside the door, a pot-bellied businessman stood there nervously. As soon as he saw Ryuichi, the mung bean-sized eyes suddenly exploded except for a burst of light. Brother Ryuichi, save me. Seeing this man, Ryuichi was a little surprised. He really knew this person, and the only person who called him in this tone was the real estate owner who gave Shan's villa to him. Uncle Yamamoto, why are you here? There are not many people respected by Ryuichi in this world, and Yamamoto counts as one. When his system just awakened, if he hadn't met Yamamoto, he wouldn't have created the House of All Things. Therefore, he has a bit of affection for this honest businessman who looks very simple and honest. When I was about to leave Shanzawa, I specifically told Yamamoto, and said that if you have something to do, please come to him. But I really didn't expect that how long had passed before he actually came here in person. Yamamoto panted and sat on the chair, like a little meat mountain, and said as if he took a breath when he saw Ryuichi. Brother Ryuichi, after you left, there was nothing wrong with the newly developed real estate in Shan's, but the workers dug up piles of bones. You also know the rules of our business, so you didn't care, but I didn't expect that a huge embryo appeared on the real estate these days. Now a bunch of strange guys have taken over there. Don't worry about it, but my group of brothers are still inside. If something goes wrong, how can I explain it to their family? I thought about it, and only my brother can help me. I always feel like someone is watching me when I call, so I drove over at night. Chapter 83. Advertisement. Hearing Yamamoto's words, Ryuichi's face was slightly taken aback. In the small city of Shan's, cursed fetuses will actually be born. You know, the curse fetus is a symbol of the special grade, and only the special grade, the curse that condenses the huge curse power is qualified to need the nourishment of the curse womb. Even in the largest city in Fuso, Tokyo, the number of special grades is also very scarce. Embryos that have not yet fully developed are only seen once in the supermarket before. The birth of a curse is nothing more than two situations. The first is huge negative emotions. But Shan's obviously does not have such a huge population base to give birth to a sufficient number of negative emotions. Then there is only the second possibility. Cursed object. Premium cursed object. It's the same special grade cursed object as the tempura jade that I had before. It can also breed special grades. Uncle Yamamoto, don't worry, I will help you with this matter. Whether it was for Yamamoto's previous affection or to improve the progress of Dispatch of Detained Spirits, that special grade embryo deserves another trip to Shansawa. That's great, Ryuichi, I've been driving crazy lately, and I feel like someone is following me wherever I go. Yamamoto's three-layered chin, which was piled up with fat, trembled slightly with his breathing. 23. Looking around suspiciously, the faint feeling of being spied on by others is about to drive him crazy. You feel very accurate, uncle, not bad, much better than I first saw you. When Ryuichi met Yamamoto for the first time, this solid-eyed developer was trapped in a development zone. Almost eaten by cursed spirit. Hey, it's not the ring you gave me. It's very useful. I can see those weird things, but I listen to you, and when I see it, I treat it as if I didn't see it. Yamamoto shook a silver ring in his hand, which was a practice work of Ryuichi Divine Armament 100 Refinements. Although it is not very useful, it allows ordinary people to see the cursed spirit. But, this time it's really not those monsters looking at me, like someone. Yamamoto was still a little flustered. But looking at Ryuichi in front of me, my heart is also quite settled. After all, he saw with his own eyes how Ryuichi can easily get rid of a monster the size of a hill. Of course you can't see it. Ryuichi gave Yamamoto a bottle of juice. Then he looked at the door playfully. Said quietly. Do you still want me to invite you? The moment the voice fell, there was a ripple in the space outside the door. Advertisement. A man in black gradually appeared at the door. He looked at Ryuichi stiffly all over his body, and involuntarily pinched the corners of his clothes with his hands. Is there a demon behind this guy? Ryuichi has been given a new nickname since the test of the royal front. Stepping all beings under their feet, in hell, above the abyss, overlooking all beings. Demon Lord, Mr. Ryuichi, I don't have any malice. The academy asked me to protect this Mr. Yamamoto. The man's hands gathered above his head, his muscles tensed, and his expression flustered. For fear of saying a wrong word, Ryuichi turned his head off. He had heard that during the prince test, the Rukawa family had a few more words, so he chopped off his head and kicked the ball. Academic person. Ryuichi clasped his hands together, pressing on the seat surface. Looking closely at the man in black. The man in black only felt that in the pair of moon-white eyes, he seemed to be thoroughly seen through. My feet trembled slightly. The name of the person, the shadow of the tree. In the previous battle, Ryuichi and Gojo almost interrupted the backbone of the younger generation. The name of the devil is spread throughout the Jujutsu world. Ruthless, resolute, killing without blinking. All these labels are affixed to Ryuichi's body. The best proof is the 4 cursed divisions who have mixed into the arena. None of them have a whole body left. Sir, our college has absolutely no malice against you. This Mr. Yamamoto aroused our suspicion because he brought the cursed tool that can see the cursed spirit, so I followed him. If you know, Mr. Cursed Tool, you gave it, I would not dare to follow him if I killed him. On the man's forehead, cold sweat continued to ooze. Speaking is also like pour out beans, and speak out all at once, for fear of speaking slowly. There is no more chance to explain. Ryuichi looked speechlessly at the college staff who was scared to pee on the opposite side. I didn't seem to say anything, so I was so frightened. Helplessly rubbed his forehead. Uncle, look at this guy, what do you want to do? Ah, this. Yamamoto, who was watching the drama, didn't expect Ryuichi to ask himself. Seeing that man showed a silly smile and said, I've seen this gentleman. The ones who came to solve my problem before have risen to the point that it is unnecessary to deal with it. I don't care, so be it. Ryuichi tapped the tabletop lightly, making a light click. As everyone knows, the whole body of the man was already wet with cold sweat. Advertisement. When Ryuichi asked Yamamoto how to deal with it, his face was okay no matter how he died. As for resistance, isn't that farting? Against the devil, am I crazy or are you crazy? It's not as easy as suicide. Uncle Yamamoto, you and this guy, let's go back together. Ryuichi thought for a while before speaking slowly. Yamamoto nodded obediently. He also knows Ryuichi's means. Fatian escape is too exciting, not suitable for a fat man like him. Are you, window? Ryuichi watched the man speak again. The man nodded and said, Yes, Mr. Ryuichi, my jujutsu has no combat record, so I can only do some auxiliary work. Well, Uncle Yamamoto will be responsible for bringing back Shansawa. While talking, Ryuichi got up from the sofa. Snapped. He snapped a crisp finger. The gloomy light appeared on his body. A faint blue line slowly rises under his feet. The tyrannical curse power instantly enveloped his body. The terrifying coercion made the man afraid to look up. As an ordinary person, Yamamoto felt nothing. Shit. Bang. Ryuichi disappeared into the room instantly like a stream of light. The speed was so fast that many phantoms appeared in the air. Guru. The man couldn't help swallowing and spitting. Such a huge curse power, even cursed spirit is very difficult to have. Is he really human? Well, this gentleman, is Brother Ryuichi very bad for you? Yamamoto looked at the man with a smile. But the man didn't know how to answer for a while. He nodded hard and said, Mr. Ryuichi, well-deserved invincible in this generation. Oh, it turns out that Ryuichi is so strong. Yamamoto lowered his head lightly and tidied his clothes. In the mung bean-sized eyes, a little haze flashed through his eyes. Chapter 84. Advertisement. Fuso, Shan's. This small town, which is almost at the edge of the entire Fusang, is filled with a somewhat unusual smell. The luxury cars, which were almost rare in the past, are constantly galloping on the street. There are no secrets in the small border town. Everyone knows that all this is because of Ichiro Yamamoto, a real estate developer. What the hell is this dark thing? I don't know, are you making a movie? I heard that this is because Ichiro Yamamoto provokes ghosts. The crowd surrounded the black enchantment and looked at this weird scene. The black tent can conceal everything, but it cannot conceal curiosity. What the hell is going on in this place? Is the Jujutsu Association eating dry food? Inside the tent, a woman wearing a kimono looked angrily at everything outside. This time the account is a one-way channel, and everything outside can be seen inside the account. In large cities such as Tokyo and Kyoto, when conducting extermination operations, the Jujutsu Association will send professional personnel to clean up the scene, and account starts the seclusion mode. In the eyes of people without curse power, the space where the tent is cast will be no different than usual. But, near the cursed fetus that appeared this time, a strange thing happened. That is, the curse is full. For ordinary people, unless they are actively attacked by the cursed spirit, or on the edge of death, they can see the existence of the curse. But today, all the curse powers near this curse fetus will be intervened by inexplicable forces, so that the curse power will be fully revealed. Let everyone see all this. The woman in the kimono frowned and was worried. Miko, don't be silly, this kind of small place is not popularized by the Jujutsu Association. Also, it stands to reason that a second-level cursed spirit in a city with this kind of population density is the best. The golden braids hung on his forehead, his fiery figure looked like a devil, and his beautiful face was hidden by the braids. The speaker is Mei Mei, a second-year student at Tokyo College. This time the mission investigation was conducted by the maidens of the Kyoto Academy. Mei, don't you think something is wrong? In this birth field, our curse power has been greatly enhanced. The Miko opened her palms solemnly, and the azure curse power condensed on her slender palms. It's like a little bit of stars gather in it. My spell power has increased by at least 30%. Mei shook her palm casually when she heard the maiden's words. The black and purple curse flickered on her body. The surrounding area suddenly became a little haze. It's true, is it possible that we met a good cursed spirit? Mei put a finger on her mouth, as if seriously thinking about the feasibility of what she just said. Advertisement. The witch gave this unscrupulous senior sister a blank glance. She had known Mei's name for a long time. The second most troublesome thorn in Tokyo High School. Together with Gojo Satoru and called the teacher killer. The exact location of the cursed fetus is too difficult to find. It has been fake 3 times, is there still no news about your pet? The blue light on the maiden's body kept shrouding her surroundings, as if forming a huge protective cover. The cyan mist that appeared because of the cursed fetus was cut off. Although I don't know what the consequences of inhaling the mist will be. But Jujutsu's first rule is to be cautious. Mei stood behind the witch, a small crow suddenly fell on her shoulder. There were a few quack groans. It seems to be talking about these things. My little cuties, haven't found anything, it's really a cunning curse. It has been about an hour since the two entered the realm of birth. It was true that he hadn't even caught the real body of the cursed fetus. Instead, the phantom of the cursed fetus appeared 3 times in a row. Let them go to the air time and time again. After hearing Mei's words, the witch was about to say something. But suddenly, click, a huge tentacle sprang from the ground. Everything that traverses all around. The cement floor shattered instantly. The front part of the tentacles was extremely sharp and glowing with coldness. Killed viciously towards the witch. Click. The protection under the Miko's cloth was penetrated instantly like tofu. Oops. The witch's eyes shrunk, and her whole body moved backwards, but her speed was like a hare and a tortoise compared to the tentacles that came quickly. Seeing that the terrifying tentacles were about to penetrate the maiden's chest. I saw a black shadow quickly appeared in front of the witch, and the speed was so fast that there was a sound of breaking through the sky. Kamikaze. Quack. Pouch. Click. The tentacles broke off. Falling on the ground, there was a zzz sound, and it turned into a cloud of black air and disappeared. A crow that had died of life also lay quietly on the ground. Advertisement. Thanks. The witch looked at the black air on the ground with a lingering fear. If there was no Mei, she would have been blown into a plug by the tentacles now. You're welcome, remember that you owe me once. Mei's face will no longer be as leisurely as before. With a bit of vigilance and curiosity. The cursed tire cannot be attacked until it is fully formed. Therefore, countless weak and small companion curse will be derived. Come to protect yourself. But this time it's in the realm of regeneration. Actually, I haven't encountered a curse. Instead, the cursed fetus took the initiative. This completely violated the rules. Diaresis this time the situation is too weird. It violated the rules of cursed fetus. I applied for support. The witch looked around carefully, for fear that something might happen again. Once the shadow of death appears, it will not easily dissipate. The witch feels that this human task is not something she can participate in as a small 4th level Jujutsu master. Rules. Please, I think that since I met Ryuichi, rules are simply meaningless. Mei shrugged indifferently. Yaga Masamiki has already told him about Ryuichi. Born without Jujutsu, but acquired. The body can match the good promise Fuhasher. The spell can be played against Gojo Satoru. Such monsters all exist, and the cursed fetus that can actively attack doesn't seem to be a great thing. Rumble. Just as the two were communicating, an extremely bright light suddenly illuminated everything. The strange cyan light, with a terrifying impact, outrageously appeared in front of the two. Click. Back. Bang bang bang. The air was completely evacuated in an instant. The force of terror caused the ground to burst every inch. Almost in the blink of an eye, the shock reached the two of them. The shrine maiden was shocked by this terrifying power and lost her mind, and stood still in place. The blood all over his body seemed to be solidified. It's impolite to discuss people behind you. A man's voice suddenly sounded. At that moment, in the witch's desperate eyes, a figure like a demon god was reflected. Stationed deeply in her mind. Chapter 85. Advertisement. The shock of horror, with unmatched curse power, erupted like a natural disaster in an instant. For an instant, black cracks began to appear in the space. Everything around has become trembling, almost nothingness. The flying dust continued to shatter in the air. A huge crack was torn from the ground. Ryuichi watched the desperate shock of terror and raised his hand unhurriedly. Zzz. The black breath quickly wrapped around his arm. Dozens of cursed spirits appeared on both sides of him in an instant. Turned into the purest power. It keeps entangled on Ryuichi's arm. The black breath carries endless eternal night. Heavenly tribulation. Rumble. Click. Click. Ryuichi waved his palms seemingly at random. But an unmatched black hole appeared in front of him instantly. In that blackness, it seemed as if the gate of hell was hidden inside, and it was like an endless abyss entrenched in it. Countless ghosts are laughing wildly, countless souls are roaring. Hoo-hoo. The black hole is like a greedy behemoth, bursting out with a tyrannical attraction. It seems that even the light can be swallowed in that terrifying power. Titicaca. A powerful impact like a natural disaster. In the blink of an eye, it was swallowed up, leaving no trace. Zenin Ryuichi. Mei looked at Ryuichi, who appeared suddenly, with a bit of astonishment on her face. Obviously, I didn't expect the other party to appear here. Advertisement. After all, Ryuichi's identity belongs to an extremely special existence in the entire Jujutsu world. Anyone with a little bit of status knows it. Although Ryuichi is not a member of any forces, his tyrannical strength has been proved. In addition, the status of day student granted by Jujutsu Academy has not yet been recovered. The Zenin family has even made a sound, as long as Ryuichi is willing to return to the family. In the middle, the position of the next generation of patriarch can be determined immediately. Just like Gojo Satoru's status in Gojo's family. In this case, Ryuichi's reputation is almost as good as the day, but most of them are bad names. The name of the devil is spread all over the world. In the Imperial test, the Devil Mountain and the Sea of Blood is vividly visible, screaming and moaning, the sound is still in my ears. Such a character would actually appear in this place where the bird does not shit, which is something that Mei did not expect. Thank you. The Miko looked at Ryuichi's perfectly profiled face, slightly squatting, and she was a little nervous when she spoke. Ryuichi waved his hand indifferently. Looking at the blushing maiden, she said. Your life, 5 million, not too much, right? Ah, not too much, not too much. The Miko was taken aback for a moment. I didn't expect that Ryuichi would say such a thing, but she quickly agreed. The Miko of famous background, let alone 5 million, even 10 million, it is just a few days' pocket money for her. Thank you for taking care of it, a small business, and a stupid employee waiting to be paid. Ryuichi said lazily. But Shire, somewhere far away in Fuzang, had an itchy nose and a big sneeze. Zenin Ryuichi, why are you here? Mei walked up to the Miko and looked at Ryuichi curiously. Since this man appeared here, it seemed that this mission was almost no difficulty. Mei has witnessed Ryuichi's strength with his own eyes, and that battle almost turned the entire academy upside down. People who can fight Gojo Satoru to that extent, so far, Mei has only seen Ryuichi. Why, can't I come? Ryuichi obviously didn't want to explain to Mei his interest in coming. He put his arms behind his head and looked lazy, as if he was on vacation. Obviously he is in an unknown realm of birth, but he seems to be in the back garden of his home, free and easy. Looking at his lazy figure, for some reason, Mei and the maiden felt inexplicable peace of mind in their hearts. A word inexplicably rose in his heart, this lofty sky is still under him. Mei seemed to hate this feeling, and shook her head vigorously to get rid of the emotion. This man doesn't seem to need to do anything. As long as he appears here, he is like the sky above. Even if the world is overturned, he is still there. It is a kind of aura that will flow out inadvertently in words and behavior to the utmost confidence. It's a moving curse. Advertisement. Ryuichi's gaze is in the field, scanning constantly. Under his intuition that he could almost predict the future, the position of the cursed fetus was at a glance. The dark blue cursed fetus pulsed constantly in the air. The ectoderm of the cursed fetus was covered with painful human faces, and countless black blood vessels were intertwined with each other, and black blood was in it. Continually flowing. Evil, treacherous, and horrible. All kinds of words can hardly describe the accident of that curse. Disgusting. Ryuichi glanced at the curse with disgust. The curse power of the whole body is constantly improving. Tap lightly under your feet, and the tyrannical force burst out instantly. Go straight to the unformed fetus and kill it. Regarding this disgusting thing, he didn't have the slightest idea to keep his hands. As for the kind of cerebral palsy that got embryonic development and formed in battle, he wouldn't do it. Last time in the supermarket, the reason why he waited for the cursed fetus to form was because at the beginning he had no intention to make a move. If it weren't for Ieri Shoko's wit and the special effects surrounding the cursed spirit, even if all those people died, Ryuichi might not have made it. For him, everything in the world comes at a price. You can say that he is cold-blooded, you can also say that he is disdainful, do it if you want to do it, don't do it if you don't want to do it, no one can restrain his freedom, is Ryuichi powerful root. The purpose of his coming this time, in addition to the super cursed object that may appear, is to return Yamamoto's favor. As Ryuichi's strength became stronger and stronger, his mind was lacking in detachment, and his originally somewhat lazy and indifferent personality became more elegant. There are not many kindnesses that can be remembered by him, but once admitted, Ryuichi will do whatever it takes to become an enemy of the world. Not to mention a small super cursed spirit. Shocking. In the blink of an eye, Ryuichi had already appeared in front of the cursed baby. The left hand was raised abruptly, and the tyrannical force burst out suddenly. The black thunder continued to explode all around. Perhaps it was the sense of life-threatening power that several tentacles appeared on the cursed fetus in an instant. With teeth and claws, he went straight to Ryuichi and stabbed him. The sharp front end shone with a little cold light. Above the front end, dark green smoke faintly appeared. With a strong corrosive force, it shot out instantly, trying to delay Ryuichi's heavy punch. Chapter 86. Advertisement. Whoosh whoosh. The tentacles danced wildly to meet Ryuichi's heavy punch. Next moment, Titicaca. Flop. Flop. Under that punch, it was like a meteor, with countless tentacles broken, and black blood splashed all around. The black blood exploded, and the strong corrosive aura carried by the black blood quickly condensed, and unexpectedly gathered into an arrow, and shot it at Ryuichi. Contempt was swept across the corner of Ryuichi's mouth. In front of his chest, Shenji Tien burst out a mysterious aura, and the invisible power burst out instantly. The surrounding space seemed to be constantly oscillating under that power. The blood arrow was in the air, annihilating quickly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Interesting, a cursed baby can have such a means, and Ryuichi floated in the air, no longer forward, but looked at the ugly in front of him with a smile. Curse the tire. You actually want to interfere with my curse power. He opened his palms, and the curse power was jumping like a flame, and the flame suddenly rose from time to time and sometimes weakened. It seems to be controlled by something. The means to control the output of the opponent's spell power is simply a nightmare for the average jujutsu master. Jujutsu's release conditions are very strict, and some powerful jujutsu controls the magic power to the atomic level. Too big or too small will almost completely destroy a jujutsu. This cursed spirit's ability can actually affect master jujutsu's control of the spell. It's too dangerous. No, you must seek support immediately. The maiden who has received systematic education naturally knows clearly how terrible a cursed spirit that can interfere with the output of the spell's power will be. Even the ordinary first-level jujutsu division may not be able to deal with it. She took out a red messenger from her arms, just about to press it. A dark shadow slid past and directly robbed the courier. Quack. The crow grabbed the courier and returned to Mei Mei's shoulder. Mei Mei, what are you doing? This situation is not the time to make you foolish. The witch sternly scolded. Null. The azure curse power on his body unexpectedly burst out uncontrollably. Advertisement. She was stunned suddenly. With only a trace of anger, the curse power broke out uncontrollably. In this case, she was almost completely unable to fight. Mei Mei looked at the witch who was covered in curse power, with a playful smile on her face. He threw the messenger aside and said, "Don't be so excited, you know it can control the power of the spell, and you are still so excited, wait until the spell is exhausted to see what you do. As for what you said about asking for help, please, don't make me laugh. Okay, how strong is the strongest asking for help you can find? Now, the guy standing in the sky, but the strongest." Ryuichi looked at the cursed baby with interest, and in his eyes, he seemed to see the cursed spirit conceived through the layers of ectomorphs. He has determined that there must be a special cursed object that is not weaker or even stronger than tempura in it. The corners of his mouth were slightly curved. The indeterminate flame of the cursive power in his hand broke away from the control of the cursed spirit ability in an instant, and the flame slowly burned. It seems to light up everything around it. The ability is good, but it is of no use to me. Ryuichi's abilities are different from all other jujutsu masters. His curse power comes from the nourishment of 6 immortal thief treasury. It can be said that Ryuichi, who has swallowed up an unknown amount of curse power, has almost unlimited curse power. And he also has a physique similar to Cher. Negative emotions will not be born at all, or that his negative emotions will be transformed into their own strength, so that they will not affect any of their own judgments. He seems to be standing from a god's perspective, looking down at everything from top to bottom, and doing what is most beneficial to him, and at the same time the most efficient. Therefore, this cursed object, which you can control the human curse, is powerful and weird. But Ryuichi is what he deserves. Natural enemies. Shenji Xinghe. With Ryuichi's indifferent voice, behind him, countless tiny dust appeared out of thin air. The tiny dust kept condensing together, and between the gleams of light surging, it seemed like the stars in the universe flowed. Once again, like nebulae, the Ryuichi standing among the countless stars is set off like a god or a monster. Open. Titicaca. Rumble. That incomparably beautiful nebula, with dangerous and deadly power, blooms instantly. In the sky, like a galaxy formed by thousands of stars, it straddles the endless universe and blooms in front of the world. Seeking flowers. Advertisement. Wow. Galaxy flooded the cursed fetus in the air for an instant. Even though countless tentacles are constantly flying, they can only break through the endless brilliance. Nearly 10,000 first-class cursed tool, transformed into a sky full of stars. That's something ordinary people don't even think about. A first-level cursed tool will be coveted by countless people. The sacrifice of so many first-level cursed tools is simply appalling. But for Ryuichi, who has divine armament 100 refinements, the so-called first-level cursed tool is not much more precious than Chinese cabbage. Is this the power that humans should have? The witch raised her head and looked at the terrifying galaxy, her tone of voice was in a trance. She had never thought that there would be such a terrifying power in this world. The curse that made her desperate unexpectedly didn't even have the right to resist in front of Ryuichi. 0. This simply surpassed the cognition of the Miko. Cursed spirit is terrible and terrifying. Single quote. Human beings are living to death when confronting cursed spirit. This passage is an education that the witch has received since she was a child, so she is cautious, facing the cursed spirit, facing every extermination task, but today. Everything that happened before her eyes completely subverted her cognition. It turned out that in the face of absolute strength, cursed spirit would be humble like an ant, without the slightest resistance. Mei hugged her shoulders and looked at those few devastating stars with blurred eyes, with a blushing blush on her face. Said in a voice that was almost panting. Did you see it? This is power. This is the real power. She gazed at the constantly blooming stars in the sky with winking eyes. It seems to be intoxicated and unable to extricate itself. For, in this world, there are only two things that are the only real. Money, which can buy all money, can already destroy all power. Ryuichi has no interest in the thoughts of these two women. There was a bit of playfulness on his face, staring at the corner of the endless brilliance, as if seeing something funny through the bursting galaxy. Hee. The moon-white eyes reflected the dazzling galaxy, and a bit of distress appeared on the almost perfect face. Why can't you die obediently? It's really troublesome. He complained in a faint tone, as if complaining about something. Earth. Chapter 87. Advertisement. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. In the endless bright galaxy, a burst of terrifying aura continued to expand, instantly rendering everything. The space began to tremble constantly. Black cracks appeared in the galaxy. Click. Titicaca. Bang. Next moment. The galaxy burst, the endless brilliance dimmed quickly, and the countless first-level cursed tools seemed to be corroded by something. The curse in it was completely wiped out, turned into countless pieces of sand, scattered randomly in the air. Ryuichi looked at the flying sand indifferently. Standing above the sky. White clothes wind snow, like a fairy in the horizon, proud and independent. Human, why are you? The hoarse voice sounded slowly in the endless darkness. The voice was old and weak, like a dying scream of 1,390 poor guys who didn't know how long they had been hungry. But Ryuichi felt the endless malicious hidden under that voice. It is a kind of unprovoked, no reason, the most primitive and clean, malicious, for human life. It has the ability of human language as soon as it is derived. Ryuichi looked at the figure with surprise in his eyes. Even Tempura, a super-class cursed spirit from ancient times, cannot quickly master the language of modern humans. But the guy in front of him can actually say a few words simply by relying on the few words he uttered earlier. Although still a bit unfamiliar, this kind of learning ability against the sky is simply abnormal. This trip didn't come in vain. Even if this guy doesn't have a special cursed tool in his body, as long as he can restrain this guy, I'm afraid he can improve his progress. Ryuichi's eyes were filled with satisfaction. Why are you out of control? Cursed Spirit's voice was a little bit puzzled, as if he didn't understand why this man was able to resist his own ability. Obviously, in the memory of his just birth, there was a voice telling himself that the curse power in this world should be deployed for him. But why can't I control this man? The pair of pure black eyes that Cursed Spirit hid in the darkness flashed a few confusions. The darkness gradually dissipated, and his figure gradually appeared in front of Ryuichi's eyes. It was a huge giant with a height of nearly 3 meters. His whole body was covered with rotting meat, his huge mouth was wide open, and each tooth had a face of different sizes. Advertisement. It seemed that countless ghosts were wandering in his mouth, and his eyes were black compound eyes like flies. With a haze, he looked at Ryuichi suspiciously. Seeing such a cursed spirit, Ryuichi moved his body backwards a little unusually. Yes, that's right. This man who made the entire Jujutsu world feared, faced this disgusting cursed spirit and took a step back. Because this monster is simply too ugly. Even Ryuichi felt that his eyes had been greatly insulted as long as he looked at him. The immortal in his heart was about to restrain the other party's thoughts, and he was directly rejected by him. Human, why don't you look at me, you are. Fear. The cursed spirit's speaking speed became more and more fluent, with a somewhat rounded tone. The voice is completely different from his ugly appearance, but it seems to be very beautiful. This couldn't help making Ryuichi feel even more unspeakable disgust. For Ryuichi, who has always been indifferent, this kind of emotion rarely occurs. He even faced the guy and closed his eyes, not wanting to look at him again. In a way, you are right. Ryuichi's tone is extremely calm, but anyone who knows him will know that hiding under this calm is the silence that destroys everything before the volcano erupts. No, you don't have any emotions of fear, but disgust. The huge cursed spirit tilted its head, like a curious baby. Although it looked ugly and unusually, it was different from the cursed spirit without wisdom, with a sense of reason that ordinary people could hardly have. My name is Nightmare, and this name has never been derived, it's in my mind. Although Ryuichi didn't know this strange cursed spirit, why did he say that some of them didn't get it? But he obviously didn't have any interest. The gloom of the whole body flickered constantly, and the tyrannical force shook the entire space continuously bursting out ripples. Food. Why does it disgust us? Isn't it your glory to be eaten by me? The nightmare was still nagging, as if he didn't care about him at all, Ryuichi's power to tear everything apart. Said to himself. Base. But just before his voice was over, the huge and clumsy body broke through the layers of space and appeared behind Ryuichi. Advertisement. The huge shadow completely covered Ryuichi's body. The gentle voice continued to echo in this space. When humans eat pigs and dogs, will pigs and dogs be angry? Do you hate it? You don't care, and I don't care either. Rumble. The nightmare waved his fist as he spoke, and the cyan curse continued to circle. Like an evil dragon, I want to swallow everything in front of me. Go straight to Ryuichi's head and bombard it. Titicaca. The air was strongly compressed by this punch, as if condensed into a cannonball. Burst out of incomparable terrifying power. There was a cruel smile on its face, and every face on its teeth showed a greedy smile. But, soon, the smile on his face seemed to freeze. On the black compound eyes, there was a bit of horror in the humane appearance. Click. Its huge fist did not fall on Ryuichi's body, but was gently stopped by a slender hand. The tyrannical power of the nightmare was swallowed up like a clay cow into the sea. With long white hair, blood flowing, countless ghosts circling all over the sky, a woman's resentment seems to be able to obliterate everything in the world. Super imaginary cursed spirit, temptress, this world. Woo, woo. For a moment, it seemed as if countless female ghosts were crying and complaining, with long black hair circling and occupying most of the space. Like a queen from hell. Tear him. Ryuichi shook his palm casually. In the midair, a dim light suddenly appeared, and the wisteria flower rocking chair appeared in the air, steadily and steadily, as if there was some force dragging it. He lay lazily on the rocking chair. 2 fingers close together, in between eternal night. An incomparable curse power erupted from the body of the tempura, and the curse power was far more tyrannical than ever before. Obviously in front of the nightmare, the short childlike tempest, at this moment, actually seems to be able to swallow the world. Chapter 88. Advertisement. The same kind. As a cursed spirit, why do you obey humans? However, he didn't get any feedback for his question, but he was greeted. It is an endless curse. The black hair of the tempura kept growing wildly, like a black wave, turning into a huge wave, rushing towards the nightmare fiercely. Trying to drown the disgusting cursed spirit completely. The nightmare figure retreated quickly. In front of the huge waves that obscure the sky, he instinctively sensed a hint of danger, although he didn't understand why his senior would attack him. But there is no time to think about it at this moment. Curse fan. 3 open. Nightmare's hands quickly formed seals, and the whole body exuded cyan curse power. A huge ball of light appeared in front of him before the black wave completely submerged him. Tianfu's endless black hair, as if encountering a natural enemy, avoided it privately, leaving a gap through the nightmare's body. Can you control our cursed spirit? Nightmare looked at Ryuichi on the rocking chair, with a strong vigilance in his eyes. A nightmare born between people and fear of the truth, mastering the secrets of the human heart, and at the same time possessing almost the strangest jujutsu in the entire cursed spirit. Charm Jujutsu. It can weaken and strengthen all 23 mantra powers and negative emotions, which is equivalent to mastering the lifeblood of Master Jujutsu in disguise. Don't worry, you don't deserve to be jailed by me. Ryuichi lay lazily on the rocking chair, looking completely uninterested in him. From beginning to end, except for the earliest glance, he never saw the nightmare again. I am afraid that my eyes will be hurt twice. Ho ho ho, human, you are arrogant. But you don't know, no matter what your jujutsu is, as long as I touch it, any jujutsu will be weakened. For example, base. The nightmare exploded at a speed that was extremely inconsistent with the body, and appeared behind the tempura in the blink of an eye. The big hand was covered with cyan curse power. It slapped directly on the shoulder of Tianfu. The temptress was as if she was stupid, she was stunned in place, without avoiding it, her long black hair fluttered in the wind, letting her big hands fall on her shoulders. Ho ho ho. The corners of Nightmare's mouth appeared a little proud, the cyan curse power was like a spider web, and it quickly covered the body of the temptress. It seems to be devouring something constantly. But. Click. Advertisement. Titicaca. A black aura suddenly appeared on the temptress, and instantly swallowed the cyan power of the whole body. With countless black hairs, it surged like a wave of snakes. Flop. 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 Suddenly, it seemed like 1,000 arrows pierced through the heart. The black hair penetrated Nightmare's body thoroughly from all angles. Out of thin air, countless slender little hands, faintly appearing, carrying a certain strength. Constantly bombarding Nightmare's body. The whole process did not exceed 1 minute. The Nightmare is like a broken doll, weakly hung under the tempura's long hair. The black blood kept flowing out. A strong smell of blood permeated the air. How is it possible? My jujutsu is the strongest. Nightmare couldn't believe it, he was directly suppressed without the ability to fight back. Philosopher, have you said enough? So can it be eliminated? Ryuichi sat up straight from the rocking chair. Although he did not open his eyes, the breath of the whole body was completely locked on the nightmare. Impossible. I am obviously also a special grade. I am also a special grade. The failure of Jujutsu and the instantaneously suppressed drop caused this cursed spirit, which was just born in this world, into a complete collapse. Superior. You have to figure out one thing. You are a special grade because you can only be a special grade. And me, it's because, the highest level in the world, only special grade. Ryuichi raised a finger casually, which exudes a trembling force of terror. Just let you feel the real power. Silver on the other side. Open. Null. Shocking. In an instant, a translucent barrier with Ryuichi as the center quickly unfolded, enveloping the nightmare in it in the blink of an eye. Oh. Countless evil spirits seemed to have become the main theme in the entire world. The earth became pale and soft, standing on it, as if standing on a woman's body. The sky that should have been hidden by accounts appeared inexplicably above the two of them. Advertisement. A scarlet blood moon slowly rose behind Ryuichi, hanging high in the sky. On the ground, endless black hair grows unscrupulously. Like weeds. Experience it. This is the power of your senior, the realm. Slow in the other side. Titicaca. Whoosh. The long black hair instantly lifted the nightmare's body, and the huge body did not have the slightest resistance. Because, in his huge body, countless black hair has already covered all his positions. She was like a doll stuffed with thatch, she was still aware of it, but she couldn't move it anyway. Shocking. Jung. Suddenly, his body began to shake violently, as if there was something in it, about to split out. Bang. Next moment, his body was instantly shattered, and then a weird scene appeared, and Nightmare watched his body divided into two ends with his own eyes. The other half grew separately. The intense pain surging wildly, he seemed to experience a game of revolving in death and life, and birth. His body split again. This time the four nightmares were in the air, looking at each other. Is this feeling strange? Each of them is themselves, and each of them is not themselves. The only thing in common is that the pain keeps multiplying as he splits. This is the realm of temperas, the other side of the forest. For the cursed spirits that are cursed by Ryuichi, all of their jujutsu can be used by Ryuichi. The field is no exception. The creatures trapped on the other side of the sun will be constantly torn apart, and then replicated and regenerated, completely collapsed and shattered in the pain of countless divisions, and completely wiped out with their will. You can't live, you can't die. Only time and time again, in the cycle of death, duplication, regeneration, and division, there will be constant rebirth, until completely self-denying existence. Sun Luodi Mansion, the other shore flowers bloom. The day the flowers bloom, the reincarnation of 100 ghosts. This is Sun Luo Beyond. Chapter 89. Advertisement. That's domain. The witch could hardly believe her eyes. She looked at the black barrier that appeared in the office, her eyes distracted. Swallowing hard saliva. That's right. Completely wrap the surrounding space and pull the enemy into a world that belongs to him alone. In the field, the Jujutsu division is almost invincible. Whether it is a must-have effect or changing the rules of the world, it is an extremely terrifying ability. Realm is the power that all Jujutsu masters dream of, and it also cuts off an insurmountable gap between genius and ordinary people. If the reversal technique is the manifestation of a person's talents, it is a miracle that everyone can master with a flash of aura in a certain situation. Then the field is the cruelty that denies all efforts completely. The realm is just like Jujutsu. It has appeared in one's blood from the moment of birth, unable to force it, and unable to force it. In the entire Jujutsu world, the number of people who can master the field will never exceed the number of palms. There is nothing to ask for, nothing to think about. The realm is to expose the world's injustice to the eyes of the world. The best proof. Is this the domain? It's amazing. Gojo today probably doesn't have a complete domain. Unexpectedly, you actually walked in front of him. Mei, as Gojo Satoru's senior sister, naturally knows what a terrifying talent that frivolous guy who seems to care about nothing. But now, there was a monster of the same age who walked in front of Gojo Satoru. This is so exciting. There was a bit of excitement in Mei's eyes inexplicably, as if looking at the field in the sky with a bit of obsessiveness, and her tongue spit out unconsciously. I really want to fight with you. ... Account outside. The masses who were watching around have been dismissed by members of the association who were later transferred from Tokyo. The Jujutsu Association is the only Jujutsu organization that has received state support. All kinds of documents and means are naturally readily available. I found a reason casually. All those curious little citizens were scattered and fled. A helper wearing a white sweater lit a cigarette, vomiting a cloud of enjoyment on his face. Cough. You guy, can't you smoke less? Advertisement. While standing beside him, he covered his nose and looked at the smoking man dissatisfiedly. Ha. Men don't smoke. They are in the world for nothing. Boy, you are still young. The white-clothed man, with a look of carelessness, took a frivolous sip of a cigarette, and then spit out a sip at his partner. Cough. A*hole. Seeing his partner's embarrassment, the white-clothed man laughed again. Single quote, single quote. Then he watched the black tent smile gradually converged. Boy, excellent jujutsu teacher, but you have to face all kinds of situations. If you can't bear this bit of suffering, it will be difficult to stand alone in the future. Hearing this, the black-clothed youth on the side showed a bit of unwillingness on his face. A guy like us who doesn't have any jujutsu can really be called a jujutsu teacher. The man in white took a heavy puff of the cigarette in his mouth. Then he threw the cigarette butt under his foot and twisted it a few times. Boy, there must be someone to do everything, whether it's window or wall, someone must always be responsible for these things. Not everyone can shine, we just need to do our own thing, how can we not be considered as a jujutsu teacher? While talking, the man in white messed up the boy's hair. After this mission is over, I will return to my hometown to get married. He sighed with emotion. Looking at the teenager, it seemed as if I had seen myself. But, sudden, there was a sharp pain in the back of his heart, and his consciousness suddenly appeared in a trance. Cursed spirit. Years of experience told him that he was attacked by cursed spirit. Flop. A mouthful of blood was spit out from his mouth, dyeing the white sweater scarlet. He raised his hand with all his strength, exhausted the last strength of his whole body, and shouted at the young man who had been frightened and convulsed all over his body. Run. Bang. The next moment, his body quickly inflated like a balloon, and the skin of his whole body was stretched open by inexplicable force. Like a huge toad, bloodshot exploded on the surface of his skin inch by inch. Bang. Wow. A bloody firework exploded in midair. Watching this horrible scene, the boy slumped on the ground. The whole body twitched uncontrollably, and the tears in the corners of his eyes kept accumulating. Yes, it looks like a human. Advertisement. The Lie, who was covered in the black robe, took out a handkerchief and wiped his palm at random, as if he felt dirty because he had touched the man just now. He looked at the ground, the teenager who was trembling constantly with fear. Tilting his head, as if looking at something, continued the data. Diaresis, but at this time, you should be screaming, yada. When the boy heard the Lie, the expression on his face quickly faded. Slowly got up from the ground. One hand grabbed his head and pulled it up sharply. Flop. The head was torn off abruptly. Between blood splashes. A small figure gradually appeared in the pool of blood. Greedy swallowing the blood around him. Haha, is that so? In this era, I haven't been in contact for too long. So they already yell in embarrassment now. I remember that there was a group of guys who claimed to be samurai, no matter what kind of torture they would not yell. Yada twisted his wrist, stuck out his red tongue, and licked the blood from the corner of his mouth. You have been away from this world for too long. In this era, women and children are everywhere like maggots, good promise, and they can eat whatever they want. Much better than your noisy and boring canyon 100 times. Lai gave a gloomy smile, trying to confuse Yada and never go back to that gorge again. Hee, I only help you this time. So you want to kill the guy inside? Yada didn't lie, but looked at the black account and asked rhetorically. No, don't worry, Yada, the show has just begun. I just came here today to leave them some surprises. Yada frowned when she heard this, but didn't say much. He slowly raised a finger. On the nails, a drop of black blood slowly dropped. Click. The blood was rendered on the ground. Gululu. Poodoodoo. The ground looked like a swamp, and the black curse power began to roll continuously. A pair of big hands kept poking out and returning from the ground. Chapter 90. Advertisement. Ha ha ha. This is it. Enjoy it. Enjoy the meeting gift we left for you. Lai gave out a frantic laugh. In the laughter, the two figures became more and more void, and finally disappeared completely. Only the ground like a ghost domain was left, and countless large black hands protruded out of the ground, as if waiting for something. Born from darkness, darker than black. Foul residuals, there are only a few. The voice of Lies rang from a distance, with indescribable weirdness. Waves of black curse power continued to emerge around him. Those mantras are connected and intersected. A layer of account was once again covered on the outside of the original account. In the sun and the other side, Ryuichi sat on the wisteria rocking chair, watching the nightmare that had been split countless times. There was no mercy in his eyes. He didn't know why. He had never been so bored since he came to this world for so long. Silly. Tempura's long black hair, curled up in a small gourd, appeared in front of Ryuichi. The gourd looked unremarkable, but Ryuichi felt it. It was hidden in the deepest part of the jug and was incredibly powerful. But there is only pure curse power, without the slightest curse. It's like a prop specially used to hold the power of the curse. But even if there is no curse accumulated in it, in the gourd alone, the huge and shocking curse power is enough to support the word, superior. Snapped. Ryuichi throws the gourd into the sky at will. The fingers were slightly close together, and a weird pattern was drawn in midair. The look in his eyes is also a bit boring. Although this curse power can be used as a nutrient for 6 Immortal Thief Treasury, he wants a cursed object with a super curse in comparison. Now he has only one heavenly husband and one half-finished 8-pointed snake. The progress of black and white impermanence is still a critical step. View the panel. Divine Armament 100 refinements. Satisfactory, current progress is 100%. 6 Immortal Thief Treasury. Successful, the current progress is 100%. Dispatch of Detained Spirits. Beginner 30% of the current progress. Advertisement. Feng Hu Chi Men. Unlocked. Full Hand. Not unlocked. Tong Tian Talisman. Unlocked. Deluo Cave Temple. Unlocked. Origin of Qi. Unlocked. Seeing that the progress of Dispatch of Detained Spirits was only a poor 30, Ryuichi frowned slightly. Now, if I wanted to, this nightmare that had completely collapsed in front of Jiu Ling would be a breeze. But such disgusting curse, Ryuichi really didn't want to accept it. An inexplicable anger rose in his heart. Excuse me, it looks disgusting. He glanced indifferently for the last time, he had completely lost his color, and even the root of curse had begun to dissolve in the nightmare, and said in disgust. Wow. The moment when Ryuichi's order was obtained. The tempura raised her hands abruptly. Countless long black hair gathered together quickly. And the nightmare's body also began to be under the strength, and constantly reunited together. Ah, the nightmare that should have lost all consciousness, let out a painful howl. This curse, who treats humans as pigs and dogs, let out a pup-like cry in front of Ryuichi. Being split again and again, his spirit has long been unable to bear the intense pain. Has been expanded to hundreds of thousands of pain. At the moment his body was restored. Once again gathered together crazy. His body was put together intact, but bursts of blue energy emerged from his body. Hoo hoo. This curse, born out of mankind's fear of the truth, is not only not weak, but very powerful. His jujutsu can almost withstand the nightmare of Jujutsu Master. However, he met the real devil. Far more terrifying than curse, the real, free-willed demon. I'm afraid that the nightmare didn't know that until the moment when it was completely eliminated, I originally had a chance to live. Even if I became a puppet, it would be better than such a complete annihilation. But because of his ugly appearance, he was reduced to such an extent. As the nightmare continued to turn into the original curse power, the surrounding domains began to fade quickly. As for the magic power in the air, Ryuichi didn't even use 6 Immortal Thief Treasury to devour it. Such an ugly guy, I'm afraid his curse power is not much better than Devil Fruit. All around, the hell-like scene was constantly fading. Everything is like a foggy shadow and no longer exists. Ryuichi snapped his fingers again and put the wisteria flower rocking chair away. Fall to the ground. Advertisement. As soon as she landed, the witch greeted her. That guy, was he eliminated? If nothing else, if you live longer, you might still see that guy. By the way, my reward, remember to call me back. Ryuichi obviously didn't forget the reward for saving the maiden. The witch nodded, indicating that she would not forget. Then continued. Did you just display the domain? Hearing her question, Ryuichi only felt speechless for a while. Is the education at Kyoto Academy so bad now? I can't even understand what the domain is. The witch saw Ryuichi's speechlessness and knew she had said something nonsense, but she was not embarrassed at all. Ryuichi, you are interested, join. Not interested. Ryuichi interrupted the other party first without waiting for the Miko to finish her words. For these organizations, he has no interest in joining. If it weren't for Yaga Masamiki's help for him to take part in the royal contest. He didn't want that so-called day student quota. Not to mention a Kyoto Academy. As soon as the maiden was about to persuade Ryuichi, she was pulled into her arms by Mei behind her. What are you doing, Mei? People are obviously right to you. I didn't want to go, don't mess around, okay. There is something in what Mei said. The Miko's face couldn't help but flushed. I don't know what else Ryuichi did to her. What nonsense are you talking about? You know what I said. Ryuichi is not interested in the playfulness of the two, and even less caring about other people's attitudes towards him. The surrounding account began to dissipate continuously. However, the imaginary sky did not appear in front of him. On the contrary, a bigger black screen concealed everything. Has another account been imposed? The ghost of you guys. Ryuichi looked at the second girl next to him. Although her eyes did not fluctuate like an ancient well, for some reason, whether it was a serious and poisonous witch or Mei who was madly sick, her heart was involuntarily tightened. It's not our people. Our task is to remove the unincubated curse fetus, and to cover the account again with a layer of account. You should know the difficulty of this kind of thing. Impossible to complete. As if afraid of Ryuichi's misunderstanding, the Miko quickly explained, Chapter 91. Advertisement. The black tent slowly fell, but everything around it was a little weird. Quiet. It was completely quiet, as if the whole world had been pressed the mute button, and there was no sound. In this endless silence, Ryuichi could even hear his own heartbeat. In his long and narrow eyes, that touch of moon white, coldly scanned the surroundings. At the moment, the development building area is shrouded by countless black swamps. Countless large black hands, like statues, stood motionless on the spot, but in them, tyrannical curses continued to appear. After Ryuichi's nightmare was eliminated, the birth realm collapsed. The group of workers trapped in the building also kept falling to the ground from all directions. Fell into a coma. But that's good, if they see the weird scene in front of them at this moment, they will probably be shrouded in shadow for the rest of their lives. What are these? Although the Miko was a little flustered, she looked at the mountain-like Ryuichi in front of her, but her heart was slightly calmed down. Mei waved an elegant streamer with the sickle in his hand. The golden braids dangled on her forehead. There was a deep vigilance in his eyes. The crow on his shoulder let out a stern cry. It seemed to be alert to Mei. All of them, cursed spirit, at least one level or above. Mei didn't even notice that, while speaking, her voice trembled a bit. Although her strength is infinitely close to the first-level Jujutsu master, the number of black hands like statues in front of her is too large. Densely distributed above the black swamp on the ground. Mei knows the reason why ants often kill elephants. This kind of cursed spirit, once awakened. Then I am afraid that even if it is better than Ryuichi, it will not be able to break out of it. Do not. Maybe if he is there, he really can. Mei suddenly thought that the man in front of him had broken all impossible existence. In front of him, the rules are like thin paper. Compared with the reliance of the Miko, Mei is worried. At this moment, Zenin Ryuichi only feels his mouth is dry. There was a very rare excitement in his eyes. It's like a child who sees his beloved toy. The endless cursed spirit sculptures were reflected in the pair of eyes like a bright moon. There was a smile from the bottom of his mouth. Advertisement. That smile was different from the kind of jokes he usually drew on his lips, but a joy from the heart. Because, in Ryuichi's eyes, these terrifying and tyrannical first-level cursed spirits, the dense and invisible curse army, are like their own rising progress bar. He seemed to have seen a gift package of experience, shining brightly in front of his own eyes. Click. There was a sudden sound in the black statue. Subsequently, it is a continuous sound. The sound of the sculptures cracking is connected into one piece. The breath of terror continued to rise. The countless cursed spirit breaths are superimposed on each other, reaching an almost domain level. Ah, click. Hung. A cursed spirit, the first to break through the shackles of the sculpture, rushed towards Ryuichi frantically. The appearance of these cursed spirits is so good that they can be carved out of a mold. A human-like body, pale skin, no other organs on his face except a big mouth, long hands and feet, covered with sharp claws. With a deep cold light, he went straight to Ryuichi to kill. Bang! Before Ryuichi took the shot, a blue barrier appeared in front of Ryuichi. The Miko looked seriously at everything that was constantly waking up around her. Teeth bite slightly. Such a number of level 1 cursed spirits can only survive if we work together. The witch is not willing to hide behind Ryuichi, facing such a large number of cursed spirits, she also wants to do something. As the first student in tactical execution among Kyoto Academy, she has enough confidence in her tactics. With her own tactics and Ryuichi's strength, even in the face of the endless wave of cursed spirit, the maiden is confident to live. However, it didn't wait for the Miko to finish. Ryuichi's figure has shot out like lightning. Appeared among the countless sculptures in an instant. Click, click, click. Ah, at the moment when Ryuichi appeared in the endless cursed spirits, these cursed spirits seemed to be stimulated. The sculpture fragments all over his body quickly fell. Advertisement. Countless pale cursed spirits flooded Ryuichi like a tide. It seemed that he was going to swallow the man who appeared suddenly. Ryuichi. Seeking flowers. The witch looked at Ryuichi who had been swallowed by countless cursed spirits and let out a heart-piercing scream. Obviously the contact has not been long, but for some reason, the Miko only feels that her heart is empty, as if she has lost something important. Tears appeared uncontrollably in the corners of his eyes. She didn't know what she wanted since she was young. She will not suffer from losing anything, nor will she be pleased with what she gains. She is like a robot, preferring to constantly stimulate others' behavior with cold language, rather than revealing her true self. But at this moment, looking at Ryuichi who was overwhelmed by endless paleness, the thread in her heart broke. You guys. A frenzy aura continuously emerged from the whole body of the shrine maiden. The azure curse power continued to change to pitch black. Her hand suddenly lifted, and a huge longbow phantom was looming. The terrifying power caused Mei to panic. She actually felt a bit threatened under that power. Hey, the phantom of the longbow continued to condense. The Miko's face also kept turning pale. If it is a bow, this arrow will never look back. Miko, calm down. You can see the strength of Ryuichi, these guys can't hurt him at all. Mei quickly came to the Miko and tried to persuade the Miko to give up shooting this arrow. She could see that if this trick is used, I am afraid this little girl will die. But the Miko's expression did not change the slightest, with some inexplicable determination. This is how people are. Some people are still like passers-by even if they have known each other for many years, while some people, when they first met, can already give their lives. Besides, if there was no Ryuichi, he would have died under the first impact. Click. The black arrow in her hand converged to the extreme. An indifferent voice sounded indifferently in the ear of the maiden. Miko, don't shout so loudly. Do you think these ant-like scum can hurt me? Upon hearing this, the witch's body softened, her curse power quickly dissipated, and her body fell uncontrollably. Fortunately, Mei has quick eyes and hands, and grabs the almost collapsed Miko. Looking at the god-like figure in the sky, he whispered softly. This is the true posture of the evil monarch. 2. Chapter 92. Advertisement. Hula la la la. Oh oh oh. A huge black vortex continuously exudes terrifying power in the midair. In the pure darkness that seems to come from the endless eternal night. It seems to be connected to another deeper world. In that world, countless souls are constantly wandering in it. Among them, the world is like the spirit, and the universe is like the soul. It is like condensing all the non-existent nothingness in the world. No matter who it is, when she sees the whirlpool, all her mind will be completely attracted by this weird scene. If the mind is not firm, it may even sink completely in this endless eternal night, and become the puppet of the soul forever. In this world, besides the cursed spirit, there is another kind of spirit, that is, the ghost of the dead. Except for a very small number of jujutsu divisions, almost no one can touch in this field. The soul determines the body, and the body is equal to the soul. This is the rule of the entire jujutsu world. The fall of life is not only due to the destruction of the body, but also the destruction of the displaced soul after the destruction of the body. No matter how powerful a person is, as long as his body dies, his soul will sink completely. But, Ryuichi, who possesses the Dispatch of Detained Spirits ability, can not only control cursed spirits. Dispatch of Detained Spirits, spirit controlling which, all spirits in the world are for my use. Therefore, the power of a large number of free souls in this world has all become the power of Ryuichi. Although taking control of the soul did not increase the progress of Ryuichi's stunts, he found a very powerful trick by looking at it by accident. Ryuichi's figure is looming in the center of the whirlpool. His whole body was backed by a black breath, and behind him, a dark purple cloak was rustling. The Shura mask covered the upper half of his face, leaving only those cold and indifferent eyes. He condescendingly looked at the white wave under his feet, like a king above him. The corner of the mouth outlines an upward arc. He slowly stretched out a finger, and above the fingertip, a black light seemed to condense countless souls. The whirlpool behind him became more violent with his movements. Empty. Null. Empty empty. Ah, ah. Countless pale cursed spirits uttered meaningless howls, and they looked at Ryuichi in the sky angrily and greedily. Advertisement. Waving his own sharp claws frantically, dominated by instinctive desires, trying to swallow everything. Ah, ah. This scene is like in hell, the endless noise of thousands of evil spirits. Click. The black light on Ryuichi's fingertips burst out with an extremely magnificent light, and in an instant, an unstoppable majestic force burst out suddenly. Dispatch of Detained Spirits. Kaka kaka. Buzzing. Under the dazzling light, Mei couldn't see what was going on, so she had to cover her eyes with her palm. But, although it was impossible to see it, Mei, who was extremely sensitive to the power of the curse, could detect it. Originally those almost limitless evil curse. It is rapidly ablating at an extremely fast speed. Like the white snow thrown out of the stove, without resistance, it disappeared completely and purely. The strong light gradually weakened. The interval was replaced by a deeper darkness. The endless black swamp on the ground had already been swallowed up. And the boundless first-level cursed spirit disappeared without a trace. There was only a white dress left on the entire ground. Ryuichi smiled and felt the changes in his body. With such a large number of cursed spirits at the first level, his progress has risen by a large amount in an instant. It even surpassed the progress that a special class could provide for himself. And, more importantly, the 6 Immortal Thief Treasury, which was almost completely exhausted because of the previous battle with Gojo Satoru, actually recovered completely because he completely swallowed the curse power on the ground. The 6 treasuries that had already bottomed out were once again filled with curse power, and began to continuously nourish his body. Let his breath become more tyrannical. Although he didn't know who did it, he had already noted the breath of curse power. The other party was obviously rushing to him this time. Since I have given myself such a gift, I should also repay the other party well. With a thought, Ryuichi put on an unexplained smile on his face. A cold light flashed across the fingertips invisible. An extremely slender silver needle did not enter the ground in an instant. Advertisement. Even Mei, who was extremely sensitive to the power of the curse, didn't feel a trace of it. Mei supported the exhausted Miko and walked to Ryuichi's side. Looking up and down, this tyrannical young man. The little golden braid swayed slightly in front of his forehead. This time, I will report like the academy. Whatever. Ryuichi knew the hidden meaning of Mei's words. In this incident, it is obvious that someone is present and is planning a conspiracy artificially. But she cannot tell whether the opponent is targeting Ryuichi or the college. As long as anything reaches a certain height, unpredictable changes will occur. Compared to the cursed spirit, what is even more unpredictable is the human heart. This truth Mei understood early on. Whether it is Ryuichi, who is now famous all over the world. Colleges that are gaining momentum recently are likely to be the target of others' calculations. Ryuichi glanced at Mei casually, with a tone of seriousness that Mei had never seen before. I don't like trouble, so whether it's the college or the old guys, don't make me feel troubled. I'm not Gojo, he may have to take into account some rules, reasoning and the like. He will think about the future direction of the Jujutsu world, but I will not. If you really get there, I don't mind letting the entire Jujutsu world have a real, big show. Ryuichi's voice is so cold, but the smile on the corner of his mouth is so real. Of course he knew the terrifying power behind every family. It has been passed down from the time of Ryōmen Sukuna to today's family, how could it not have enough combat power to quell everything? It doesn't matter if it is the apex of Jujutsu, who is known to be the same age as the whole Fuzang. It was the shadow hidden behind the Zenyuan family, or the other pair of eyes in the Gojo family. Both show that the world is not as shallow as it is shown in the comics. But, in the face of all this, Ryuichi still made the declaration of infidelity almost unscrupulous. This is what he came from in his bones, from the Demon Lord. Arrogant. Don't think too much, neither the Jujutsu Association nor the Academy have any thoughts about you. The witch's voice was very weak, but she still explained to Ryuichi. Ryuichi looked at the pale Miko. Smiled meaningfully. Chapter 93. Advertisement. Ryuichi's tone became lazy again, and the terrifying aura on his body continued to shrink. Like a sunny boy next door, smiling at the corners of his mouth and bright eyes. With the intelligence capabilities of the Jujutsu Association, it's not true that Uncle Yamamoto's cursed tool cannot be investigated. I gave it. If they really don't allow Uncle Yamamoto to come to me for help, an ordinary businessman, I'm afraid that even Shanz's realm can't get out. A cursed fetus that formed so quickly, actually let you come over at the first level and the other at level 4. Could it be that you should come and die? Hee. Following Ryuichi's words, Mei has also been constantly in deep thought. The mission this time is indeed weird. Although she has quasi-level strength, it is almost impossible to deal with a cursed spirit that has formed so quickly. Plus a 4th level witch, if not for the appearance of Ryuichi. Now both of them are probably reduced to the pigs and dogs, in the words of cursed spirit. The witch's complexion became even paler. As a master of tactics, all of the key points flashed through Miko's mind the moment Ryuichi spoke. Someone wants to test Ryuichi. Regardless of whether it is Yamamoto or himself and others. They are all pawns in this conspiracy. Tell the old guys, this is the only time 23, and the last time. I can play with you, but the premise is. You are really ready, don't try to touch my bottom line. You can't afford the price. When the voice fell, a powerful force exploded under Ryuichi's feet. Bang! Huge cracks appeared on the ground instantly. It's like being hit by a meteor. Centered on Ryuichi. The whole Shanz shook slightly. The invisible shock shakes everything. Rumble, although I don't know who you are, I will return your gift. Ryuichi looked at a clearing. It seems to cut off the countless time and space, and saw the existence that left behind this countless cursed spirit. If Ryuichi hasn't mastered Dispatch of Detained Spirits, then it's really hard to tell how the outcome will be this time. Even if you can win, you will have to pay a big price. With such a large number of cursed spirits, it is difficult for Ryuichi to deal with now. The reason why all the spirits can be restrained is because the curse in the body of these cursed spirits is very weak. Although the curse power has reached the 1st level, but with curse, there is only the 3rd level cursed spirits obsession level. Advertisement. Dispatch of Detained Spirits directly targets the root of curse, so even if the curse power of those cursed spirits is strong, they can only be mastered by Ryuichi and reduced to numbers on the progress bar. But this move has already touched Ryuichi's bottom line. People who are malicious towards him. Then there is already a way to take death. Before I find you, stay alive. Ryuichi's voice was like babbling in hell, cold and crazy. ... Quack quack, quack quack. Black crows flew in groups in the sky. Like a shady scene of death and unknown. Cover the sky. Lie sitting in front of the wooden house in Suicide Canyon. Holding a cup of tea in his hand, the green smoke slowly. The fragrance of tea overflows. He shook his teacup a few times, and there were a few faint groans. Yada, your jujutsu is still so scary. That's not jujutsu, it's just opening the door of the world. Yada squatted aside, like a little old man, smoking a pipe in his hand. Cloudy eyes looked at the depths of the canyon. The blood-colored curse power entangled all over his body, as if lost in contemplation. The key to the world was stored by my elder brother. I just used it for a little bit. Haha, almost. Soon, elder brother will be able to wake up completely, we just have to wait a little longer. Wait, people remember the fear they once forgotten. Everything will be resurrected. The voice of the lie became extremely excited, and the pair of blue eyes flashed with crazy light, like a fanatic, imagining the kingdom of heaven in their dreams. As long as we succeed, what is the 8-pointed snake? What Ryōmen Sukuna? It's all rubbish. Only our cursed spirit, born in purity, are the real masters of this world. Those that exist in the illusion will become cursed spirit guys on their own, as long as we replace humans. They will disappear completely. His crazy voice echoed continuously in the canyon. The crow in the sky seemed to feel the madness of the master and became extremely violent. Yelled frantically. Let the black feathers keep falling. Yada smoked his pipe blankly, squinted his eyes, looked up and down the excited lies, and gently knocked the ashes a few times. Advertisement. Lie. Big Brother never cared about this. Humans are just our food, they are ants, they are scum that can be crushed and crushed easily. But you care about them so much. You are among us, the most favored by Big Brother, and the one who disappoints Big Brother the most. The dregs. The dregs, you said, sealed the eldest brother with his life. Hearing Yada's words, the lie roared. A hideous face. Base. The voice just fell. Yada's palm appeared on his neck, and the tyrannical curse power continued to surge in the palm of his hand like an electric drill. It seems that the head of the lie can be taken off at any time. But there is no fear of lying. This era is the best era. As long as Ryuichi and Gojo Satoru are eliminated, everything will come again. Shut up. Yada glanced at the lie coldly. The expression on his face kept getting serious. Finally he pursed the corners of his mouth slightly. It was like a sentence squeezed from between the teeth. All the white curses I issued have disappeared, and the door that I was carrying has been erased. Wow. Lie. His expression became extremely serious, and he accidentally overturned the teacup when he got up. Zenin Ryuichi must die. Do you know that the ancestor of the Zenin family is Ching? Yada waved and interrupted the lie before he finished speaking. He will die. He will definitely die. After that, he didn't take a look at the extremely angry lie, and walked back to the wooden house silently. But what he didn't notice was that seemingly angry lie. The moment he turned around, the expression on his face disappeared instantly. It's like a cold stone. Sit down again. The corner of the mouth formed a strange shape, half up and half down. Half cry and half smile. He picked up a tea, spilled on the table in his hand. Look carefully, the so-called tea is just a human being who has been shrunk by countless people. Chapter 94. Advertisement. Lie and need the human who is only the size of tea in his hand. There was a bit of deep malice in the black eyes. The malice is pure and without the slightest impurity. It's like a newborn baby, pure and innocent, yet extremely evil. The human being between his fingers screamed. The expression of the lie turned out to be somewhat enjoyable, and his whole body trembled slightly uncontrollably. It's like hearing some wonderful music. Twisting his body with extremely melody. Humans are toys, toys of cursed spirit. Yada is right. Compared to other cursed spirits, he is the most complicated and purest. It was born in the fear of lies between people. From the history of Fuzang, the first lie appeared, he spied every move of human beings in Mei. He tasted the horror and anxiety of the liar, the trust of the devourer and the deceiver, and finally swallowed the lie in despair. Born in the layers of intertwined lies. Lying to humans is like looking at toads of different sizes, with big bellies and nothing in their mouths. The world occupied by toad makes him sick and stings him. Just living under a sky with humans, he felt that his whole body would involuntarily feel dirty and dirty. We should be real human beings. This idea kept echoing in the lie's mind. For this purpose, he blended into the human society, formed the Human Mutual Aid Association, united the disgusting curse divisions, and tried to overthrow everything. But the plan, which was almost seamless, fell apart with the existence of Gojo Satoru. Finally found the weakness of Gojo Satoru. But it was broken once again by Ryuichi, who was like a devil. Crunch, crunch. The creepy bone rubbing sounded in the canyon. The big lie mouth, constantly chewing the humans he had lost in his mouth. The blood stained the corners of his mouth. How could my plan for thousands of years be shattered because of you? He looked at the coffin held by countless bones in the deepest part of the valley. A few haze flashed in his eyes. Zenin Ryuichi. Look forward to it, look forward to it. The other side of this world will soon be revealed before your eyes. Hope, you will like this new world coming soon. Ha 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 ha. Quack quack, quack quack. With frantic laughter, along with the strange screams of the black crows, they jointly composed a funeral song of death. Fuso, Tokyo. In the backyard of Zenin's house, there is a dark room. Advertisement. Since the completion of Zenin's house. This room appeared here. No matter how the years have changed, no matter what changes the Zenin family has experienced. This room, hidden in the deepest part, has never been sounded by anyone. Even the moment when the patriarch who had completely mastered 10 shadow techniques died together with the patriarch of the Gojo family. No one has ever opened this door before. And just today. This almost hidden the deepest secret of the Zenin family, quietly opened its door. Crunch. The dilapidated wooden door uttered an overwhelmed groan. Outside, a man in a kimono with long white hair struck back, a pair of mustaches swaying in the wind, and a man with a wine gourd in his hand. It is the Zenin Niobe who has been waiting for a long time. At this moment, his face is not as frivolous as he used to be. On the contrary, it is extremely rare to bring a bit solemnly. His eyes were fixed on the open door, as if waiting for something to arrive. A breeze passed. There is something slowly falling from the crack of the door. It's like a sheet of yellowed paper. There was a burst of light in Zenin's eyes. The figure disappeared instantly. Then it reappeared in the same place again in less than a second. Only this time, there was a piece of yellow paper between his fingers. Bang! After the paper was thrown out, the door closed mercilessly again. The eternal darkness is like a comeback, covering the room. Zenin Niobe turned and left. The darkness behind him grew deeper and deeper. Vaguely, it looked like a phantom with 3 heads and 6 arms, covering the entire room. Zenin is extremely fast, almost in the blink of an eye. He appeared in his room. He put the yellow paper on the table with a solemn expression. Opposite, I don't know when. Several wooden cages appeared. Several figures appeared in the wooden cage. Niobe, did you open the secret room without authorization to ask about Zenin Ryuichi? The person who spoke with a very bad tone seemed to be very dissatisfied with Zenin's behavior. That secret room can only be used once every 10 years. Advertisement. It is a holy artifact brought back from the dust by the first generation of the Zenin family. But unexpectedly, Zenin Niobe would actually waste this precious opportunity on Zenin Ryuichi. Diaresis, the Zenin family has never appeared in any generation, the jujutsu held by Zenin Ryuichi. His jujutsu is not a heritage. Any jujutsu born to a talented generation, what's the wonder, he has the blood of the Zenin family on him. Bloodline. Do you really think I don't know how Zenin's jujutsu got it? Don't talk about this kind of laughter. Zenin Niobe sneered, the contempt in his tone did not conceal. Enough. What do you want? The figure in the wooden cage seemed to be talking about some pain, and the topic was directly changed. What do I want to do? Zenin Niobe lightly ran over his beard, and the corners of his mouth kept pursing upwards. If the blood is unimpeded, I will try my best to fight for Ryuichi to go home and inherit the position of patriarch. Immediately, the world will fall into chaos. Immediately. Zenin Zibi looked at the indeterminate lamp in the room, and a strange light appeared in his eyes. Good promise. Gojo's home. Gojo Satoru sat cross-legged under the towering ancient tree. Unreal and mysterious power appeared all over his body. He was obviously sitting on the ground. But it seemed to be far away. Shocking. Gojo Satoru's eyes opened suddenly. The space in front of him began to ripple continuously. All of a sudden, the space in front of him was like being thrown into the surface of a lake with stones. Constantly shaking. Above space. Overwhelmed by countless transparent powers. Unlimited. Countless infinity is superimposed together. It seems to cut off the whole world from Gojo Satoru. He sat cross-legged in it, like a god. Sudden. Abnormal. An extremely terrifying impact suddenly fell from the horizon. The flowing clouds in the sky shattered instantly. But. Chapter 95. Advertisement. The air began to gradually become hot. Rumble. On the horizon, the impact was like a meteorite, with unrivaled strength, rushed towards Gojo Satoru, who was cross-legged on the ground. Gojo Satoru felt the terrifying power. It's not hurried or slow. I didn't even look at the impact. Let the power that seems to be able to destroy everything fall. Rumble. The shock of terror engulfed the scorching heat, and boldly red was in front of Gojo Satoru. But the next moment, buzzing. The terrifying meteorite was severely stopped by an invisible force and could not move forward from beginning to end. In the end, the impact began to disperse continuously, and a rock the size of a pigeon egg fell weakly to the ground. Patter. Gojo Satoru reached out his hand to pick up the stone and weighed it lightly. Looking helplessly at the open space in front of him. Grandpa, I saw you. Under the eyes of the sky, everything seemed so invisible. The old man with no eyes appeared above the clearing with a smile. Xiao Wu, you really belong to the Gojo family, the most talented existence in 100 years. Without the lower limit technique, I have actually achieved this level. Good. The old man laughed excitedly. Gojo Satoru didn't care and lay on the soft grass behind him. Grandpa, you have something to tell me. The holder of 6 eyes is born with the ability to see through everything. When the old man appeared, Gojo noticed something unusual. So he asked. The old man has a solemn face. I walked alone to Gojo Satoru's side and sat down slowly. Take out a piece of yellowed paper. Passed it to Gojo Satoru aside. Gojo's expression was stunned when he saw the piece of paper. Another world. What's the meaning? On that yellow paper, there are 5 big characters written impressively. Another world. Advertisement. These words seemed to have some kind of magical power, which immediately attracted the interest of Gojo Satoru. The old man took a deep breath. Little Go, how was the cursed spirit born? Cursed spirit breeds from negative emotions. Ordinary humans can't control negative emotions. The cursive power flows together to generate cursed spirit. Gojo didn't understand why the old man would ask himself such a simple question. But the bottom of my heart is indeed a little bit bad. Yes, cursed spirit is indeed born out of human negative emotions. The history of their existence is almost equivalent to the history of the entire human race. Then have you ever thought that Fuzang, who is now in a peaceful age, will give birth to so many cursed spirits? What kind of curse will exist in the warring states era that faces death every day? When a person is dying, the negative emotions will be multiplied countless times, among which the born cursed spirit is even more powerful. But we couldn't find any trace of them. The old man sighed again, his tone seemed to have a big mountain pressing on his heart. We have always suspected that the group of cursed spirits did not disappear, but hidden in another world. Until the Empire, the curse masters who assassinated you found a familiar curse power in their bodies. I haven't forgotten the description of that curse power until now. It seems that mankind's unique malice towards the world is also the curse power that appeared under the fall of the patriarch of the Gojo family and Zenin family. That B******************. D. Sure enough, it still exists. He sent this piece of paper. The old man gritted his teeth and said, Gojo Satoru is at a loss. The B*********** D in your old mouth is the one who made plans for the Gojo and Zenin. Cursed spirit. ... Maple leaves circled in the wind. Unlike ordinary maple leaves, Jamao's maple leaves are extraordinarily red, as if they have been rendered in blood. In the solemn ancestral hall, a man sits quietly, and opposite him is a huge portrait. The man in the painting is cold and solitary, with an unknown breath exuding all over his body. You said what a wonderful time. So you can't get through it. The man looked at the portrait with a little nostalgia, and gently brushed his palm across the scroll. The rise and fall of the family must be in your own hands, you are right. I was too naive before. The man seemed to be talking to himself and he seemed to be talking to someone. The Gojo family has a Gojo Satoru, and the Zenin family has a Zenin Ryuichi. Really no one is talented, the world is unparalleled, a bit of the meaning of the two guys now, but you can rest assured that your exhaustion will not be in vain. Advertisement. Talking. Behind the man, the blood kept twisting into a ball of human form. The nose, corners of the mouth, eyes, and facial features are constantly being outlined. In the end, it was a doll almost identical to Ryuichi. The man reached out and took the doll and placed it on the table. A silver nail in his hand slowly emerged, and he drew a pen on the doll's forehead, and then a faint smile leaked from the corner of his mouth. Patter. The silver nail fell to the ground. There was a crisp sound. Your methods are good, but this time, I want to reshuffle everything myself. The Jamao family will continue to become Johnson & Johnson as you expected, becoming the strongest existence in the entire Jujutsu world. There are things that humans cannot do, but cursed spirit can do it easily. Flop. The man suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood, and the gate of the ancestral hall closed suddenly, and the faint wildfire was burning blazingly. The room was filled with a strong smell of blood. The man's neck is constantly twisted and deformed. In the end, it turned into a twist shape alive. His whole body exudes a curse that is not like a human being. That curse is weird and evil. Humans are destined to have weaknesses, so I'm not a person. The figure of the man dissipated continuously in the room. Only the picture scroll was kept swaying in the wind, and the man on the portrait was rendered with blood, a little red. He held 9 embryos of different sizes in his hand, and he could feel the strange aura even through the picture scroll. In the 8th year of the Warring States period, Kamo Shanlin, before the top of the mountain, took his wife's hard work and cast 9 sons, who are half human and half ghost, without life or death. It has become the first batch of non-human non-cursed spirits in the world, the super cursed tool, and the 9-phase diagram of cursed fetus. Since then, Kamo Shanlin has been expelled from Jamao's family. 9 years of the Warring States period. The patriarch of the Gojo family and the patriarch of the Zenin family are both at the top of the imperial test. The two big families almost fell. Jamao's family dominates. Rumor has it that Kamo Shanlin also has a twin brother who disappeared without a trace after Kamo Shanlin's death. The Jujutsu is capable of ingesting blood to display curse. Blood Plate Jujutsu. Chapter 96. Advertisement. In the cloudless sky, the shining sun illuminates everything above the firmament. With a bit of depression, Feng hovered unscrupulously on the sidewalk. Ryuichi sat cross-legged on the rooftop. The tyrannical curse power is constantly surging up and down all over his body, and a little bit of paleness is constantly annihilated behind him. The black vortex was looming. Among them, it seems that there are countless cursed spirits entrenched. Curse is so strong that it is almost substantial, constantly venting its curse power. But it was still unable to break through the shackles of the black vortex. Kaka kaka. The surrounding space began to be continuously distorted, as if some terrifying power was about to be bred out. Hoo. As the aura on Ryuichi's body continued to increase, the power of the curse also burned like a flame. Then slowly disappeared. Together with the black vortex behind him, it disappeared without a trace. He stood up from the rooftop. Stretched a big lazy waist. Crackling. There was a popping sound all over the body. Although this time I returned to Shan's, he didn't confine the spirit to the super cursed spirit, but the countless cursed spirits held in his spirit world have greatly improved the progress bar of Dispatch of Detained Spirits. Now he has almost unlocked most of the skills of Dispatch of Detained Spirits. But vaguely, there is still a very key node that cannot be grasped. It seems that we will have to wait until the stage of completion before we can comprehend all the skills of Dispatch of Detained Spirits. Then he didn't think much. This trip to Shanzawa is a conspiracy and a temptation. Of course, Ryuichi knew it clearly. Although he is lazy, the terrifying intuition brought by 6 Immortal Thief Treasury almost allows him to avoid most of the things that are unfavorable to him. But, this time Shugazawa is about Ryuichi's principles. The grace of a meal must be paid, and the vengeance of the Canthus must be paid. Ryuichi doesn't care about the eyes of the world or the so-called rules. For him, everything is the meaning of existence. Zenins, Gojos, and Kamos are not fuel-efficient lamps. Ryuichi looked condescendingly at this busy steel forest. The moon-white eyes were like a round of bright moon, without the slightest emotion. Ryuichi's instincts told him that that day, he was on the field of the imperial competition. The big 3 sorcerer families all have methods that can threaten oneself. Although the feeling is not strong, it can even be said to be very weak. But, advertisement. That also means that the opponent has at least the superior combat power. Jujutsu has only 3 superpowers in the world. The newly promoted Gojo Satoru, Sha Yuji, and 99 Yuki, who have never seen the end of the dragon. But how deep is the water behind this, only they know. A family that has been passed down for thousands of years is good at its own sake. The uppermost association, the supremacy of power. However, the only Jujutsu academy whose mission is to train Jujutsu teachers is subject to restrictions everywhere. Obviously the Jujutsu world should be the supreme strength, but it is implementing the old recommendation system. In Ryuichi's eyes, this Jujutsu world is simply a huge fish pond. Dried shrimps were thrown on the lake surface, small fishes wandered everywhere, but the real big fish and the bloodthirsty sharks in the deepest place were hibernating in the dark. Anything is fine, as long as you don't provoke me, otherwise. A wicked smile appeared at the corner of Ryuichi's mouth. The cold killing intent was like the substance, covering the entire roof. The murderous air rushed straight to the Shaohan. If Gojo Satoru is a sun that shines on everything. The warmth shines on everything, making people unconsciously rely on him. To prop up a piece of sky-high giant tree for the younger generation. Then Ryuichi. Just hanging high in the eternal night. A scarlet blood moon. Cold, fascinating, high above. In the dark, it is not surprising that people do anything. 100 ghosts yexing. Some people are mixed in, happier than ghosts. Consider, take care of, these things are never in Ryuichi's mind, nor is it his standard of behavior. Click. Stuck. A pair of big hands suddenly appeared from the edge of the roof. Fingers slammed hard. A figure turned up in an instant. They slapped the dust off their bodies and sat on the edge of the roof. Fuheisher threw a can of juice at Ryuichi, and then started to open the beer in his hand. Take a sip of delight. Who has gotten into this evil star again? He looked at Ryuichi, who had just curtailed his murderous intent, and thought to himself. It seems that you are not in a very good mood. She wiped his face indiscriminately, and wiped off the alcohol on his face. I was calculated by a bunch of gangsters, I kind of want to step on ants. Ryuichi also opened the juice, with a faint tone of murderous intent. Strawberry juice swallowed down his throat, red like blood. Puff, who is so unlucky that you have gotten into trouble? If you want to help me, give me a salary increase, leave it to me. Advertisement. Shier waved his hand indifferently, and a dagger danced in his hand. It seems that no matter who it is, he can take off the opponent's head. Seeking flowers. This is the confidence that comes from the King of Bounty, the strongest assassin. Since his debut, apart from losing a battle with Ryuichi, he hasn't lost a game. Okay, big 3 sorcerer families, how much do you charge? Cough cough cough. Shier, who was pouring beer into his mouth, was directly choked upon hearing this. He shook his head vigorously and threw the drink out. Seeing Ryuichi's serious expression, asked. You are serious? There are always people crawling around and annoying. Big 3 sorcerer families is not that simple, no matter which one it is, there are extremely terrifying power hidden. Even if it is you, it may not be their opponent. Shier took a sip of beer lightly, his eyes blurred. What do you know? Ryuichi looked at Shire curiously. He didn't think that Shire, who looked like a drunkard all day, seemed to know some family mission. But it was normal. Although he was expelled from Zenin's house without cursing power, it was reasonable to know some little-known things with his strength. 3 years ago, I went to Gojo's house to perform a mission, and I was destroyed by a terrifying force. 5 years ago, I went to assassinate the elders of Kamo's family. I was covered by a blood painting and almost indulged in it. My physique shouldn't have been affected by any jujutsu, but I almost overturned that time. As for Zenin's house, haha. Although Shire did not finish. But, Ryuichi, who was born in Zenin's family, knew it. The mysterious secret room inside Zenin's house. The black room has an air of horror. Even if Ryuichi thinks of the secret room now, he will be a little bit afraid. I just hope they won't be doing unnecessary things, otherwise, I don't mind. Kill them all. Dread doesn't mean fear. Ryuichi's eyes are slightly narrowed, the corners of his mouth are marked with a smile, and the whole body exudes a dangerous breath. Shire shrugged his shoulders casually. This boss is good everywhere, but one thing is that as long as someone touches his bottom line, he will become like a demon. Just like his name spread in the Jujutsu world. Tyrannical. Demon tyrant. By the way, boss, discuss something with you. Then Shire scratched his head and looked at Ryuichi a little embarrassed. I want to take my children over. What? Soil. Chapter 97. Advertisement. Ryuichi, who was still full of murderous aura just now, was suddenly taken aback by Shire's words. The narrow eyes flashed a bit of surprise. Zenin Shire, or Fuhi Shire, was in the original world line. He didn't even see his son before he was alive. Even if he didn't know whether it was a male or a female, he left the word, female. It was not until later that she was awakened by the wizard again, and only then did she see Wei, who had grown up to become an adult. Man is a very strange creature. Between the bumpy Shire and the equally indifferent Ryuichi. Inexplicably there was a match. And this house of everything that had to stay because of losing the bet. It gave him a rare piece of stability. Elegant words in the room, but no worries. Shire no longer wandered on the tip of the knife like before, and went to peek at his son more than once. This is also clear to Ryuichi. After all, with his perception, even the various behaviors of 397 were under his nose. But unexpectedly, this guy actually wanted to take Fu Haihui to live. So, do you want to be a daddy? Ryuichi clasped his hands together, pressed his chin on it, and stared at Shire playfully. Seems to have seen it. Fuhashire faced a child in a frantic manner. Can't help but smile a little. It looks like it will be very interesting. Shire's face blushed. As the king of assassins, when did he receive such ridicule? But the other party is not only his own boss, but also the future landlord. Anyway, we have so many vacant rooms. It is a waste to be idle. The kid is very smart and can help you when he comes. Don't say that. I'm a serious businessman with a national seal on my business license. I can't do things like hiring child labor. However, you really think about it. Ryuichi said that he drank the juice in his hand and weighed it lightly. The red aluminum can was bumping up and down. Shire fell into silence for a while. Ryuichi didn't mind Shire taking Fukuro Megumi over. After all, there are many rooms in his house of everything, and Hui's personality is not that troublesome type. Ryuichi will still give Shire this kind of love. But there is a deep gap between Shire and Wei. When Da Hui's mother died, Shire didn't even take a look. Although he was in a big battle at the time. But children don't care about those. Shire was silent for a while. The strongest assassin who made the entire Jujutsu world feel a chill in his back, at this time, like an ordinary father, he was a little at a loss. This is something Ryuichi did not expect. Sure enough, feelings are the most powerful weapon in the world. Even Shire, who is like a war machine, cannot escape from it. Click, click. The aluminum can was constantly twisted and deformed in Ryuichi's hands, and finally it was pressed into a hard little ball by the powerful force. Base. Advertisement. Moment. Ryuichi threw the ball seemingly casually. But the tyrannical force caused the ball to explode like a bullet with terrifying power. Cut through the space. Bang. Puff. Pong. The sphere seemed to penetrate something, with a bit of redness. Then he tilted all his power on the surrounding walls. Deeply stuck in it, a puff of black smoke continued to rise along the wall. Ryuichi's mouth has a slight smile, and the smile is bright and sunny. Puff. A ripple suddenly appeared in the space, and a man in black clothes gradually emerged. The big hole in the chest penetrated the heart completely. Even his breastbone was completely annihilated. There was blood pouring from his mouth and he looked at Ryuichi incredulously. The fingers trembled slightly, trying to lift up, but the strength of the whole body disappeared like running water. Click. Finally lay weakly on the ground. Large patches of blood stained the rooftops. And Ryuichi and Shire seemed to have not seen the man. Discussing on his own. No matter what, I have to go and see, after all, he is my son. While speaking, Shire stood up and put the half can of beer in his hands on the fence on the roof. A killing intent flashed in his eyes. Base, useless force under your feet. It was like a black thunder, flashes quickly, base, base, base. Between the three flashes, there seemed to be many phantoms. The dagger in his hand flickered a little bit cold. A bright red was left on the blade. Click, click, click. Ripples in the space again. 3 heads were spinning around on the ground. There was incredible in his eyes. Kong shot to the end, the whole process did not exceed 3 seconds. It's curse, boss, it seems that you are being targeted. Shire shook the dagger in his hand vigorously. That touch of redness actually slowly merged into the dagger. It seemed that 3 souls had entered into it. So I said, it's really troublesome. These. Ryuichi's eyes changed in vain just halfway through his words. Advertisement. He stretched out his left hand. Faint blue flashed. A head lifted up out of thin air. Then it exploded instantly under the faint blue. And that head actually only had an empty shell. Together with everything in the body is hollowed out. There are no remnants of any organs. It's Jabba the Puppet Master, the famous curse master. What he likes most is to hollow out all the internal organs of living people, and then use his jujutsu to manipulate the corpse. The corpse he refined is equivalent to the cursed tool. Although it has an expression, it is actually that guy's disgusting taste. As one of the top existences in the entire dark world. The cursed teachers who can be remembered by Cher are all excellent players. This cursed teacher Jabba can be regarded as the best among them. Click. Suddenly, the 4 corpses that had fallen continuously made strange noises. Bara. The 4 human skins slid off suddenly. Floating in the air. A line of words appeared vaguely above. Zenin Ryuichi. Die. The sticky blood kept slipping on the human skin. The strong bloody smell is a bit strangely sweet. Let the air exude a bit weird. Looking at the words of blood in front of them. Ryuichi's breath became thinner and thinner, and the smile on the corner of his mouth became brighter. However, Shire, who is familiar with his boss, knows. Ryuichi got real fire this time. He stretched out his palm casually. Between the blue surgings, a barrier was formed. Immediately afterwards. Rumble. Click. Human skin exploded instantly. The tyrannical impact almost overturned half of the building. Cement steel bars are splashing everywhere. The air also exudes a strong corrosive atmosphere. The surrounding debris will continue to erode. The cement steel bars melt like plasticine. Such a means. So despicable. This is the cursed teacher, who kills people by all means, kills his life without dignity and humiliation. As long as the goal can be achieved, there are no taboos. In the blood and smoke. Ryuichi looked at a tall building somewhere, as if looking at a ghost field. Sheer behind him showed a sneer, like an evil spirit coming out of the cage. Chapter 98. Advertisement. Fuso, Tokyo. In the entire extremely prosperous Tokyo. This tall building sitting in the center of Tokyo is an unattainable dream for countless passers-by in this golden city. Once able to enter this building to work, without exception, they are among the elites in the city. In this steel forest, this is the sky giant tree, this is the mountain lily of the valley. It's on the top floor of this building that symbolizes wealth. Thin black mist surrounded the 15th floor of the building. Hundreds of employees fainted pale and fainted at their workstations. On the ground all around, slender red silk threads are constantly entangled and linked. Like the blood vessels in the heart, it moves from time to time. It can be vaguely seen that the red silk threads are actually flowing from the fainted employees, blood-clotting threads, bone marrow threads. The red line kept walking on the ground, and finally stopped at the door of an office. Quiet like a little beast, waiting for his master. The young people nowadays are lack of exercise, so good blood has become so dirty. Really, it's not easy for my old man, so you can't exercise your body obediently. Kang Lao 23's voice came out of the office with a bit of complaint, as if an uncle buying vegetables on the street was complaining that the price of green vegetables had risen again. But the resentment hidden in the tone made people tremble involuntarily. Da da da. The sound of footsteps gradually sounded, and an old man with a pustule face walked out of the office staggeringly on crutches. Those red lines are as if they met their master. Constantly surging up. With a rapid speed, the old man was tightly wrapped in it. The strong blood odor keeps pouring into the old man's body with a bit of fishy smell. The old man's skin, which looked like chicken skin, was actually faintly unfolding continuously. Old devil, can some food be good? Advertisement. Since Gojo Satoru became an adult, you've never dared to drive Zunshuan again. The ridicule sounded in the old man's ears. A weird man wearing a yellow raincoat and a white mask on his face sat on a desk with playful eyes. Ahem. I'm old, not as good at playing as you young people. If the price is not high enough this time, I will not come out of the mountains. This is a guy who is stronger than the monster in Gojo's family, ahem. While talking, the old ghost coughed a few times weakly, looking like he was going to die at any time. However, the blood-colored threads surging up and down the whole body, with extremely powerful power, inadvertently danced, the surrounding walls were deeply cut into cracks, as if they were cut by a sharp blade. Hee hee, the raincoat man sneered. Others don't know the details of the old guy in front of him, but he knows the truth, relying on that strange jujutsu, this guy has no idea how many years he has lived. It is said that when my dead ghost dad was young, this old guy looked like this at any time. Now my dad is retired, this old thing still looks like this half-life. Do you really think Zenin Ryuichi will be that strong? The man in the raincoat had a bit of disdain in his tone, and his eyes moved up and down with contempt, as if he was telling a big joke. Then what do you mean? If Zenin Ryuichi is really that strong, with the appearance of Zenin's family, it is possible to let him drift outside like this. Between families, why don't they flatter him on the pole, and the Jujutsu Academy? It's just their day students who can endure such a genius. Don't be naive, old fellow. You have been alive for so long, don't you understand such a simple truth? The man in the raincoat showed a grinning smile, and at some point in his hand he took out a portrait of Zenin Ryuichi. He held the portrait in the air, then tilted his head, stuck out his scarlet tongue, and licked it gently at the corner of his mouth. Flop. The other hand instantly exploded the head of the poor guy beside him who had fallen into a coma. Holding a piece of white blossom in his hand, he put it into his mouth indiscriminately. A sickly redness appeared on his face. The old ghost looked at this scene with no surprise. As if this kind of almost abnormal behavior seemed uncommon again, he squeezed his missing tooth hull with few teeth left. Advertisement. Asked tentatively. Are you saying that the guy's strength is not as strong as in the legend? Ha 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 ha. Old devil, is it interesting to act like this? The man in the raincoat laughed wildly, and squeezed the portrait of Ryuichi into a ball and threw it on the ground fiercely. If you really think he is so strong, how can you take this single task? Gojo Satoru broke all the backbones of your group of people back then. Such a simple truth, do you really want me to say it so thoroughly? In the turbid eyes of the old ghost head, it was like a rice field eel that was constantly stirring the mud. Looking at the man in the raincoat, there was no expression on his face. The funny three-pronged beard, no wind, automatically, and the silk threads on his body were also faintly floating. Click. Kerala. Young man, didn't your father give a reason to respect the old man? Father. The raincoat man smiled and touched his stomach, then looked at the old ghost in a joke and said, he is here, you can ask him. How much I respect the old man. I make him respectful. It's completely integrated with me. Wow. As he spoke, a horrible breath kept gathering behind him. A shadow like a small hill gradually appeared behind him, with a tyrannical aura, like a wild beast. Seeing that the conflict between the two is about to escalate. Click. A long knife pierced the void. Under the twinkling of silver light, on the ground between the two, a long knife pierced deeply, and the powerful force cracked the ground around them to the point of cracks, like a spider web. The ghost boy means that the Zenin family has always been at odds with the Gojo family. Gojo Satoru in this era is like a big day, in everyone's head, and the Zenin family is naturally dissatisfied, and I don't know what means to push it. Try to cover up. And the so-called demon lord, Zenin Ryuichi, is just a poor man who was pushed down in front of him. Maybe he has good strength, but it is ridiculous to have the strength of Gojo Satoru or defeat Gojo. We all know the strength of Gojo. Ahem, then how do you explain it? All families have seen this. The old ghost looked at the tall figure hidden in the darkness and asked. My people told me that afterwards, the imperial contest had an accident, and a shady scene covered both Gojo Satoru and Zenin Ryuichi. The shady is gone, the winner is already divided, haha, Zenin's methods are really amazing. Chapter 99. Advertisement. In the shadows, the man walked out alone, came to the middle of the two, picked up the long sword, and put it on his back again. Behind him, he carried a whole number of 10 swords. As if carrying a small hill on his back. Hearing this man's words, the old ghost was also silent for a long while. Muddy eyes swirled in his eye sockets. He was able to shoot this time, but he did not believe that Ryuichi's strength could actually defeat Gojo Satoru. After all, Gojo's strength was personally experienced. In the year when Gojo Satoru was 16 years old, a total of 20 cursed teachers who were not weak at the same time shot Gojo Satoru who had just grown up. In order to eradicate this greatest threat in the future. But only half an hour. 16-year-old Gojo killed all the cursed divisions. All over, no one jujutsu could touch his body during the whole process. If it weren't for the old devil's jujutsu, he would be very special, he would have fallen into the gloom now. You still have to be careful, but I really didn't expect that these self-proclaimed families would actually invite us to take action. It's really interesting. A bunch of off-leisures who don't even dare to face their own desires in the name of a family. Hearing the old man's words, the ghost boy rolled his eyes in disdain. Obviously he didn't have the slightest affection for these so-called aristocratic families. Is there only 3 of us? The old ghost ignored the crazy ghost boy, but looked more like a normal man with a sword back. There is that fellow Jabba, but he seems to say he wants to test him. Haha, hope not to be tempted to death by him directly, otherwise it will make me look forward to it for nothing. The ghost boy laughed strangely, his mouth full of white teeth and some shreds of pork. Old ghost, just wanted to say something. He suddenly turned around, as if he had noticed something. The muscles of the whole body are tightened, and the red silk threads continue to dance like a madman. But, there is nothing behind him. Is it an illusion? The old ghost frowned tightly, and he was able to live until now by relying on extremely keen intuition. The instinct of this creature has no idea how many lives have been saved. At that moment, his heart twitched violently. This feeling has not appeared for a long time since Gojo Satoru was severely injured and dying half a year ago. But just now, that feeling swept through his body again. Single quote. It was like an electric shock. Advertisement. Who is it? Diaresis. He looked at behind him vigilantly, and the red silk also floated up, like tentacles, constantly peeping at everything around him. Old ghost. You are so. Old guy, what are you crazy about? Both of them were confused by the old ghost's weird behavior, thinking that this old guy would not be crazy. Old stuff, if you get confused, just give up this mission. I'll laugh at the bounty master. The man in the raincoat had a bit of sarcasm in his tone. For this kind of old man, he lacks any goodwill. If it weren't for this mission, he would want this guy to be like his dead ghost father. Retirement. The old ghost was not in the mood, and explained to these two guys that the twitching sensation in the heart is still getting stronger. It even made his breathing become slightly quicker. Whoop. Suddenly, a strange breath suddenly rose. Let the dark space around it become more profound. This moment seems like eternal night. The muddy eyes of the old ghost shrank tightly, and he could detect that the breath of his two partners had disappeared. Guru. In the face of such a treacherous scene, even an old-fashioned old ghost could not help swallowing and spitting. Old stuff, your instincts are really accurate, it's not easy, you can find me. The cold joking voice sounded behind the old ghost. Da da da. The sound of footsteps gradually became louder, and the eyes of the old ghost's head continued to disperse with the figure that appeared. The world is a circle, and the dark world is no exception. The old ghost who was stuck in it looked at the familiar but unfamiliar man in front of him. The twitching sensation in the heart gradually subsided. Because he knew that facing this man, he might really have no chance. Zenin, why are you here? Old devil, we can be considered old acquaintances. If I can, I actually have no interest in killing a scum like you. But, unfortunately, you offended my boss this time. Before the words fell, Shi-Er's feet made no effort. The powerful explosive force instantly made his figure appear in front of the old ghost. Advertisement. The old ghost head, his hands are fast due to the cause, red silk dances all over the sky, and he continues to surround Shire. Where the silk thread passed, even the air was rendered bright red. And Shire's figure was among the airtight red silk threads. Like a dancing butterfly, flashing and moving. There was not a single bloodshot that could touch his body, even the corners of his clothes. Click. The icy dagger rested on the old ghost's neck. Shi-Er didn't look at the enemy in front of him, but turned his head and looked at the red line that was still dancing wildly, showing a cruel smile. Diaresis old guy, how do you want to hide? In the red line, a figure seems to be looming. Let's have fun. Cher's joking voice slowly sounded, and her figure once again disappeared in place. Dot 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 dot. Has it been calculated? Isn't it the guy Jabba who embezzled the reward? The ghost boy looked at the unfamiliar scenes around him, and the yellow raincoat floated several times without wind. He showed sharp teeth with some blood stains on them. Hey, Jabba, you be asterisk 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 D, or let the little master go out now, or else, the little master ruined this thing for you, Honuo Jiao. Can cut a few of us directly into the enchantment, at least the first level cursed tool, you really have lost your blood. The ghost boy shouted and echoed constantly, but he didn't get the slightest response from all around him. His expression instantly became gloomy, and his triangular eyes were slightly condensed. Quickly seal with both hands. The curse power behind him was constantly hooked together, as if it was summoning something. Hoo-hoo. Titicaca. A burst of trivial sounds continued to sound behind him. The tall shadow gradually appeared. A monster whose whole body was piled up with flesh and blood appeared behind him. Countless human eyes cling to it, like evil spirits crawling out of hell. At the moment when this monster just emerged, a cold and melodious voice slowly sounded Zoo in the darkness. Summon cursed spirit. I will too. Chapter 100. Advertisement. The black space sounded with this crisp sound. A touch of paleness rose in vein. A cursed spirit with a pale body, a height of 2 meters, and an extremely long hand, gradually walked out of the darkness. Its entire book is covered with large and small spikes, and its hands have extremely sharp claws. Between the waves, there was a whining sound of breaking through the sky. Only a big mouth on the huge head occupies half of the country. It roared, facing the flesh and blood monster that was a full 1/3 taller than him. Ha ha ha, is this little thing here to make a joke with me? Guiwa Zai grinned. There was a bit of disdain in his eyes, and he was even too lazy to look at the cursed spirit. Randomly waved his palm. Rumble. The huge cursed spirit exploded at an astonishing speed, like a chariot, madly crushing the poor, small guy. Bang. Titicaca. Almost instantly, the pale cursed spirit was crushed by monster like a tank. There was not even time to let out a scream. It turned into a pool of curse power to dissipate. You guy, it's not Jabba. Who the hell is it? The ghost kid recognized Jabba's voice, and the person trapping him at this moment was definitely not the old ghost. Obviously, he and others were calculated. Divided in all spaces. But the ghost baby is not a bit scared. Only because. His whole card, but a real first-class cursed spirit. Haha, the voice chuckled lightly. I'm just a guy who deceives the world and steals names. When the ghost boy heard this, his eyes shrank suddenly. Zenin Ryuichi. The name suddenly appeared in his mind. But, when did this guy come here, and how long did he listen to it? All the conversations between myself and others fell into the ears of the other party. But didn't notice it. This feeling of being played between applause instantly made the very grumpy ghost child suddenly seem to be lit by a hand of fire. In his eyes, he was invaded by the dense bloodshot eyes. There were 2 black hairs in the nose, not like a stranger. Advertisement. Ha ha ha, am I wrong? Zenin Ryuichi, the cursed spirit that you have is inferior to the rubbish. Why can it be famous in the whole Jujutsu world? Why? Only a genius like me should be, and should be remembered by the world. Guiwazi is almost mad with jealousy. Although he is a cursed teacher in the underground world, he has unparalleled self-esteem. That self-confidence even Gojo Satoru may not be his opponent. That thinks that the so-called invincible is just the children of the aristocratic family who deceived the world. In order to tout the Gojo family of big three sorcerer families, the news was released. The older cursed teachers are rubbish. Come on Zenin Ryuichi, die in my hands, and then, with your life, tell the world who is the real genius. Ha 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 ha, ha ha ha. The ghost baby laughed ferociously, his eyes congested like a madman. The curse power of the whole body is constantly surging. And the first level cursed spirit he controlled, after feeling the master's emotions, he kept slapping his chest with his palm. There was a muffled sound of dong dong. The flesh and blood on his body kept falling. Ryuichi looked at the crazy ghost baby. In the moon-white eyes, with a bit of joking, condescendingly slowly emerged over this strange space. For an instant, the breath that resembled the subversion of heaven and earth broke out in an instant. The cold killing intent bloomed endlessly in this space. Blossoming blood-red flowers of the other bank appeared out of thin air. It seems to be a hymn of death. The sound of the ghost baby's laughter stopped abruptly, and the creature's instinct made him perceive a kind of fear from his soul. His blood seemed to freeze at this moment, his body was stiff, and his smile seemed to be carved on his face. This cold-blooded monster who treats his own father as food and eats it with a smile. This lunatic who drank human brains as delicious juice. At this moment, the whole body was shaking uncontrollably. Those dark eyes were deeply concealed by a layer of haze. At this moment, in his eyes, it seems that hell is coming. The devil is resurrected. Impossible. Impossible. How could it happen? How could it happen? He wanted to scream crazy in his heart to vent his panic, but his voice couldn't make a sound anyway. It seemed that the right to speak was completely stripped away by the boy who suddenly appeared in front of him. You seem to be confident in your cursed spirit. Ryuichi's tone is still so lazy, like a teenager who was woken up without waking up. There was a bit of chilling murderous aura in the laziness. The corners of his mouth cocked slightly. Advertisement. The iconic smile appeared. Snapped. He snapped his fingers casually. Under the horrified gaze of Guiwazi, he saw a white Wang Yang. Shattering. Shattering. The black space kept tumbling, and the terrifying curse power quickly emerged. On the ground, a pale cursed spirit gradually emerged. Although their breath is not strong enough, they are in the same vein and interlocking. The huge curse power is becoming more and more tyrannical in the seriousness of the ghost boy. They are like sculptures, half kneeling behind Ryuichi. As if kneeling down and worshipping the Supreme King. Ryuichi's fingers slowly lifted and tapped lightly. Next moment, the countless cursed spirits seemed to have gotten some supreme mission. They let out a loud roar, and rushed frantically at the ghost boy standing still on the spot, and the huge first-class cursed spirit beside him. Do not, no. Under the fear of devouring everything, the ghost baby cried out as if breaking some kind of seal. But, puff, Titicaca, puff. The white torrent instantly overwhelmed him and his proud cursed spirit, gnawing at his body constantly with open mouths. Click. He was weakly submerged in this torrent. Looking at the sky covered by darkness with dizzy eyes, what reflected in his eyes was the pair of skies, like a bright moon. The frog at the bottom of the well, I don't know the world, sad, and damn it. The lunatic who devoured flesh and blood was finally swallowed up by the cursed spirit he most looked down upon, and he did not even leave a complete skeleton. Perhaps he didn't know until the last moment that he was nothing but a mortal under this lofty sky, and he was a provocative and contemptuous person. Like the eternal night blood moon, it walks on the top of the sky, unattainable.